What's up? Ghost Fictions is here, and we're back again. This is the first part of a story where Issei was betrayed and became the Jinchuriki of Kyuubi. Rejected by the very alliance that he safeguarded, forsaken by all his loved ones, friends, and family. However, he will not succumb to the darkness, all thanks to her. She will bestow upon him the happiness he yearns for, alongside others of course. Now, he embarks on a new journey with his loyal new partner, where they will encounter new outer life forms. Yet, tranquility will not prevail. Those who abandoned him will resurface. He must decide whether to forge ahead with newfound love and companionship or succumb to the depths of hatred and seek vengeance against them. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more informations. Also, this is a translate version, you may find some mistakes, specifically in the character's gender. Issei of course is a male, but this time we have a female Vali, female Drake and female Great Red. Well, with that out, let's get into part 1. Everything had ended, the war against the Chaos Brigade and the Trihexa, but there were many casualties in all factions, many fell in the fight against them and the beast, everyone was tired, but Issei and Valerie, the two heavenly dragons who did not even stop to rest for a few hours. They fell and only regained power for just a few minutes, and then launched into combat again, and the factions were the same, none of them retreated because if they did, the Trihexa would destroy everything, but everything, in the end the leaders together with Rossweiser, created a new seal fulfilled its purpose, giving the alliance of the factions as the winner of the battle. At the end of the battle, many were unconscious due to fatigue, but help arrived. Many healers came from their respective factions to help their people, among them too. There were the two dragons that fell into unconsciousness. Both were still unconscious, but Valerie woke up after 2 weeks, but Issei did not wake up. The most curious thing is that no one visited him, not even his fans because of the Dragon Op-I, the civilians to see their hero, their lovers, their friends, parents or leaders, except for a certain blonde-haired woman who came secretly to see him. In that hospital he was also poorly cared for by everyone, and they almost always forgot him, but a few days after Valerie woke up there was a meeting where everyone's presence was required. Underworld. Lucifer Castle. A great meeting was taking place in the castle. There were the four Mahu, the Council of Elders, Ingvold Leviathan and all the nobles of the underworld, on behalf of Grigory the four cadres, along with several fallen generals, from the angels, the four seraphim, reincarnated angels and archangels, from the Yasaka Yakase with her daughter and several leaders of their main races, from Asgard was Odin. Thor, several Valkyries and their best warriors, from the vampires Elmenhold and her main leaders of the vampire houses with his best soldiers, of the Olympians, were Zeus along with all the gods, and the same was with the Egyptians and the Hindu gods, as was also present the faction of the heroes, of the dragons, there was Great Red, Ophis, Lilith, Tannin, Tiamat, and the other dragon kings. Valerie's team and as usual also Ria's and Sona with their respective entourages and Issei's parents. It should be said that this was transmitted throughout the supernatural world. It was the typical meeting of tributes, awards, decorations, promotions, etc. But let's get to the topic that interests us Issei. Surziches. Well now one of the main topics of the Haidu Issei meeting. When he said his name everyone became serious and no one said anything. He is still in a coma, but we will decide what will become of him, now that thanks to Drake the Red Emperor Dragon, he has much more power which makes him someone we should not go unnoticed. Many debated what to do with him, they had thoughts like killing him, brainwashing him, cryogenizing him, sending him to Tartarus or Coqueudos, etc. until someone said something. Christmas Lithit they are still on his side in the factions, then all his power actually belongs to the Red Emperor Dragon, not him, so it can be given to someone more trustworthy. He said to which everyone began to say that it was true. Everyone was in favor of what the blue-haired man said, even her father, but when they were going to end the meeting, a magic circle appeared from where a devil comes out and says, "Demon. Sorry for the interruption, leaders and everyone present, but Haidu Issei has woken up." Everyone didn't say anything but a smile formed on their faces. Azazel. Well it seems that we will take Drake away from him today. He said with a mocking smile. Yasaka. Then tell him to come here so we can finish this once and for all in view of the entire supernatural world. The soldier followed the order and left, it only took him a minute to return to Issei still bandaged. Minutes before. Citri Hospital. In the hospital you could see all the doctors and patients watching this great meeting, not only them but the entire supernatural world, and they saw that with approval, but at that moment a small alarm goes off where a disease looks on the computer and sees what room it is, but in that it says, "Nurse. He has woken up." Everyone turned to look at the nurse and saw her seriousness. "Doctor? I'll go and call a guard and inform him of this." The doctor only went to the brunette's room where upon entering he sees the brunette standing up and stretching some parts of his body, which still has some wounds bandaged where he was not treated very well by the nurses, but in that the brunette notices the doctor at the entrance and says, "Issei. Hello. Doctor. I see that you are better now," he said seriously. "Issei. Just a little but still thank you," he said with a smile. "Doctor. Well, we will discharge you and you can go." Issei. "Okay, could you bring me my clothes please?" he said very calmly without knowing what was happening. "Doctor. Okay, I'll be right back." At the time of going to the doctor, Issei would try to communicate with his partner, but there was no response. "Issei. Drake, are you awake?" "Issei. Drake. Hey, wake up." "Issei. Well, I guess he hasn't recovered all his strength yet and wants to rest more," he said a little downcast, but then he remembers his loved ones and decides to go see them. Before doing anything the door opens seeing the doctor next to a devil soldier. "Issei. What's happening?" he said curiously. "Demon. Hi, do Issei please put on your clothes and accompany me." "Issei. Okay, give me a moment." Issei changed in a few seconds and then left the room and stood next to the devil and was teleported where the leaders were, not knowing that at the moment of leaving someone appeared in his room where he came to see his secret love. Where is Issei?" When she didn't see him, she left the room to go to the reception to ask her whereabouts. But when she arrived she saw everyone watching the transmission made by the factions, but she did not give it any importance. She approached a doctor to ask his whereabouts, and then she saw how someone had arrived at the meeting. The blonde-haired woman remained static from what he saw and could only articulate one word. "Issei." He said as tears fell from his face as he thought about the things they would do or say to him. Present. You could see a brunette with several bandages on his body who was wearing a red t-shirt and dark blue pants. The brunette looks at everyone present with impression. This surprised Issei, but that's when he sees his girls and was going to go to talk to him but is interrupted. "Michael. Hi, do Issei, we will do this quickly. All the leaders have decided that today you will be banished from the supernatural and you will also be extracted from the Welsh dragon, but for all the help you gave us, you will be given compensation just like your collaboration in the war against the Cows Brigade and the Trahixa." Issei couldn't believe what they were saying. He thought he was dreaming, that it was a nightmare, but reality hit him hard when he heard familiar voices and turned to look, seeing his parents. "Boru. Also by our decision we will take away your last name and kick you out of our house. Mickey. If you want, you can go get your things and then leave since you are not welcome to our home. From now on you stop being our son," he said without emotions and in a cold manner. "We only have 2 children, Asia and Ash." Issei couldn't articulate a single word because of what he heard. He had a lump in his throat because of what was happening, but something he was able to express were his tears that were beginning to fall from his face, and the poor boy turned to see his loved ones, beloved, who hugged her were close to a blue-haired man. He again couldn't believe what he saw. All his supposed lovers, Riaz, Akeno, Asia, Kaneko, Zenobia, Irina, Roswis, Kuroka, Lefei, Sona and her entourage, Penemu, Gabriel, Griselda, Yasaka, Kunu, Official Menhold Valerie and Tiamat with another boy. "Issei. Riaz," he said while his tears did not stop falling. "Riaz. Well, I will speak for everyone to tell you that we only use you for our benefit as a tool, but now that there is no danger I can say that you are no longer useful to me and that we only love Ashkun, so I guess it's goodbye Issei. But you have to return my pawn pieces," he said, extending his hand towards Issei. At that Issei feels how they take away his pawn pieces, leaving him tired while a little blood came out of his lips. Those present only laughed at how pathetic he looked in their opinion. From Issei's arm a gem appears and begins to shine, and everyone listens to the gem's words carefully. "Greg. Well, I think the time has come. I couldn't wait for this moment. I'll finally get out of this idiot," he said happily. "I think that Ash will be able to raise the name of the Red Emperor Dragon, not like this garbage he told me in ridicule, but at least be grateful that you will live Issei-kun," he said in a feminine tone in the last part, surprising everyone, even Issei, but at that the brunette begins to scream. "Everyone saw how I did," he started to scream, but they saw how a green sphere came out of him, and at the moment he came out of it, he fell to the ground with one hand on the floor and the other on his chest, while he vomited blood. And after a moment he looked up and saw the sphere shining, and a red-haired girl with green eyes moving away in the direction of his exes. "Greg. My real name is mine, but hey, it's time to be with my new carrier," he said in a flirtatious way while looking at Ash and transforming into a sphere again and entering him. "Sona. You can study at the academy, but you won't be able to talk to any of us," she said, being imitated by everyone. "Auden. Well, give him his reward so he can get out of here. Surziches. In this card are all the profits of the Dragon Oppai and the compensation for your help in the war, take it," he said, throwing the card at his address. Now get out of here, human. Issei stood up in extreme pain with blood in his mouth. He took the card but saw his family, friends, ex-girlfriends, leaders while everyone was laughing at him. Issei with all his pain was going to leave the place. Issei. He was just crying and tears fell while he knelt on one knee, and with one finger he drew a circle the size of his hand with his blood that he had vomited. When he finished, he wrote some strange letters for those present. Goodbye. He said while everyone was laughing at him. He just raised his outstretched hand and lowered it forcefully towards the circle, and our extremely destroyed Issei disappeared, leaving only a few cherry petals falling in the place where he was. This was strange for some who stopped laughing. Auden. Now that's done, tomorrow night there will be a party for the fall of the brigade, and everyone is invited, so we'll wait for you tonight. Without further ado, you can leave. After a while, each person left one by one, but there was a person who approached the place where Issei was and looked at the small circle, drawing the attention of the leaders. Michael. What's going on, Dulio? He just bent down and took a petal that was pink and looked at the circle. Dulio. I have never seen anything like this, much less when it disappears leaving cherry petals. Azazel. It must just be his stupid inventions. Come on, there are better things to do. Everyone left the place, but let's look at our Issei. He had suffered in a somewhat remote place from the city of Kuo, to be precise, next to a lake, and only on his knees to proceed to cry and scream until he could no longer be able to. Witness the moon and a blonde-haired girl who went to look for him. This scene only destroyed her since she saw her secret love. She slowly approached until she was on his back, salty, and proceeded to wrap her arms in him, trying to comfort him. Well, she also cried from seeing him like that. From Issei alone, he cried and cried. He didn't care who hugged him. He just wanted to let go of everything he had inside. An hour of venting had already passed, and our protagonist fell asleep in the arms of the film, who was lying on a tree. Well, she only wiped the traces of tears from her face and snuggled the boy closer to her. Issei. My. Issei, I don't care what they say about you, despite everything I still love you. I promise to be there for you, my Issei. She said while little by little she too was asleep. Before falling into the world of dreams, the blonde-haired girl only brought the brunette closer to her, and with great softness and love, she hugged the boy, as if she didn't want to let go of him. Another day began in the city of Kuo, but with its gray skies, suggesting that at any moment it would rain. But for our young people under the tree near the lake, they did not take much importance because they were still asleep hugging each other, but the brown was slowly beginning to wake up due to the strong winds as well as the cold. Issei. He said while opening his eyes slowly, and the first thing he sees is a blonde-haired woman with light green medium tones next to him. What happened? He didn't finish saying his words when he remembered what happened yesterday at the meeting, where he began to shed small tears. Issei wanted to separate from her, but he noticed that she was hugging him tightly, but he managed to get out of her grip after several attempts, which caused her to wake up when she didn't feel what she was hugging. She had woken up but with her eyes closed, but when she didn't feel what she was hugging. Issei opened her eyes suddenly, looking for him, but she saw him standing near the lake while looking at the sky. She just got up and went to where he was to hug him from behind again, but the brunette, upon feeling that hug, just turned his head to see her. Issei. Why are you doing this for me now? I'm just a human. If you do this out of pity, I ask you to leave, please go. He said while sobbing. I'm no longer doing this out of pity or anything like that. I don't care if you're human or if you don't have powers. I won't leave your side no matter how much you insist. He said while putting his forehead on her back. Issei. I don't know who you are, I don't even know your name. Why help someone you don't know or have even talked to, you said, while still looking at the cloudy sky. Maybe not you to me, but. She said as she let go of the hug and stood in front of him, taking his cheek with both hands and making me look him in the eyes directly. I do to you how you know, Issei. From the first day I saw you at that meeting of young devils, it was a day that I will never forget. For everything else it may just be one more meeting, but for me it was the happiest day of my life, despite my cold attitude, and always it would be you since that day. You made my heart beat harder than normal every time I turned to look at you. I blushed every time I thought about you. At first I thought it was some kind of illness, but as the days passed, weeks began to develop more feelings for you. I was jealous for every time I saw you about those damn things, worried for every time I saw you get hurt badly, happy for every time I saw you smile even though everything was wrong. I also admired that willingness not to fall until ensuring the good of everyone even though they will not value you. You are the best person I could meet in my life, but. He said those words while his tears began to fall down his cheeks. You did not deserve this. I was already saying it almost in a shout and now crying. After everything you have done for them, they only used you, threw you out and humiliated you. Even my family was there laughing at you. For a moment I thought they had something worse for you, but nothing happened to you. She said as she now hugged him and cried on his shoulder. When you left I only followed you for fear of knowing that maybe I would lose you, but I found you here while I saw the people I love cry and cry. I cried out in my heart to try to console you, but the only thing I could do was hug you," he said now, looking intently at her face. On both faces the tears did not stop falling. "I will not leave you, I will take care of you, I will be there for you. I don't care if it took years to repair your heart, but I still won't stop loving," he said while a smile formed on his tear-filled face with his lips approaching hers, claiming them in a kiss. The brunette didn't know what to do or say, but when he felt her lips meet his, he felt soft and warm, but the kiss only transmitted love from her to him, with no reason for that pain to disappear. She broke away from the kiss and looked at the brunette thinking that he disliked her kiss, but he tells her. "Issei. Please don't leave me," he said, for now kissing her where it belongs. It was a kiss where only love was transmitted, nothing more. Issei did not know her, but he still wanted to be by her side, but they separated due to lack of air to look at each other and. "I won't, Issei," he said while wiping Issei's tears with his hands. "I didn't tell you my name is Sekvera, yes." The brunette only nodded while they both looked at each other and approached again to join their lips, but at that moment a powerful thunderclap sounded in the skies, which caused them both to get scared but. "Sekvera. Come on, Issei, we have to find you a house," she said while dragging him by the hand. Then they left the forest to go look for a house for sale, where they both attracted attention. She was very beautiful, but he looked sad in his eyes, but along the way she tried to encourage him with things that worked until they found a 2-story house with a large patio. They both liked it, and they only had to wait 10 minutes for the owner of the house to come. When they arrived he gave them a tour of the house where they were both fascinated both inside and out. In the end they bought the house. After a while Issei says something to Sekvera that makes her worry. "Issei. Sekvera-san, and go to my old house to get my things and I will return." Sekvera. "Okay, let's go, Issei." Issei. "No, I'll go alone, I don't want problems to arise when they see you with me." Sekvera. "But." Issei. "I'll be fine, trust me." Sekvera. "Fine, but take care of yourself, yes," he said while giving her a hug and then leaving. After leaving his new home he goes to his old house where it only took him several minutes. When he was in front of the mansion he just proceeded to ring the doorbell, and when it opened. "Mickey. What do you want to say?" he said with a serious look. "Issei. I came just for my things," he said, half crestfallen and enduring the pain in his heart. "Mickey. Come in, but be quick," she said, moving to the side. Upon entering he notices that the house was not alone. Then he looks at the main room and sees all his ex-girlfriends next to Ash. He was devastated but decided to just go up the stairs to get his things. But what was in the room? They noticed the brunette and began to make fun. After 30 minutes Issei was seen coming down with a suitcase and a black and red briefcase. This attracted everyone's eyes and curiosity. "Ash. Hey, there's garbage in that briefcase," he said mockingly, but he didn't receive any response. "Oi, I'm talking to you," he said, getting up and going to where he was. "Valerie. My husband will put him in his place as a human." Griselda. "She doesn't even deserve Ashkan to stand up and teach her manners." Maina. "That idiot is just a waste of time." "Who knew? My Otu-san is like a hero, now he will put that villain in his place, haha." When Ash was about to hit Issei with a boosted gear in the face with great force and speed, being seen by his exes with a smile that was erased as soon as they saw how Issei dodged it very easily and continued on his way to the door where he opens it and leaves. The office. What happened? That blow must have left him unconscious and badly injured. Isaka. It was just luck. Gabriel. Yes, there's nothing to worry about. Tsubasa. We also have to get ready for the party tonight and also the other thing, he said flirtatiously. Tiamat. Today we have a very eventful night with Ash-kun. Hineko. Let's get our dresses ready. All. Hi. Ash. I can't wait for it, he said with a malicious smile. Issei returns home to see Sekvera sitting at the door waiting for him and notices his arrival. Sekvera. Issei, are you okay? Didn't they do anything to you? She said, worried about him and checking that she didn't have any injuries. Just when they entered the house it started to rain a little hard. Issei and Sekvera only arranged the house to their liking, since she said that she wanted to stay with him by her side. Issei did not contradict her, he just said that it's fine. Despite the emotional pain he was going through, he remained strong, so as not to worry her more than he already was. They spent the entire afternoon arranging their new home until 9 p.m. when they both began to feel hungry and didn't have any food. The rain continued and continued, but Issei found an umbrella. They both went to the door where they opened the umbrella and came out where Sekvera took him by the arm and they began to walk together in the rain. They returned at 10 p.m. along with everything they had bought to cook. It took them a while to cook, and when they finished they only proceeded to eat comfortably, but that night the temperature had dropped a lot. After washing the dishes they both retired to sleep. Dog Sakvara said that she would sleep next to him since it was cold and she didn't want to sleep alone. The witch Issei said that it was okay. Already in their room they only proceeded to lie down next to each other to be able to keep warm, but Issei. Hey Sakvara, from what you told me, didn't you have to go to the party today since you are a noble? Sakvara. No Issei-kun, I told my parents to go this time for a while, they didn't protest so I can be by your side, but I also had no interest in going to that party. He said as he turned to look at the brunette. Where is he? I know, about to snuggle into his chest. Issei. Thank you for being with me. He said as he wrapped her arms around her and showed her a smile. They both only proceeded to get closer and closer, where at the same time they closed their eyes and gave each other a small kiss goodnight, so that later they both began to sleep in the arms of the person they love, but a smile formed on Sakvara's face. Small smile of happiness at now fulfilling one of his dreams. Somewhere else. Underworld Castle Lucifer. The great party was taking place, beings from all factions were present, laughter, happiness, jokes, agreements, business, etc. But a certain Reteet and Blackhead were looking for their childhood friend so they could introduce them to Ash and try to get him to join their harem, but they found no trace of her. Without further ado they went to ask the Agar's patriarchs, but they said that she was busy in the human world. The girls only attended as a sign of understanding and went to the party. I doubt the party until very late, where the majority left there drunk or some fell asleep there. But certain women were not like that since they were still sober. They had taken their supposed lover to Issei's former mansion, where they all decided to give their purity to him. The night was very exciting for all of them. It was a moment that they would never forget, never. But in that room, there were not only her, but also several other women, such as the matriarchs of the Phoenix, Citri, Bremery and Bale clans, as well as Graphia, Tiamat, Ingvold Leviathan, several Valkyries, goddesses, angels, fallen ones, Yaokase, and also a girl. Well, woman with red hair. All of them were aware of her actions, but they still did it, but during her actions they were all marked by Ash. Ash. Ugh, what a night. He said while he saw all the women and each one had a different colored mark, but a malicious smile formed on his face. It seems that everything is going well. He said while taking out a given artifact similar to a pendant. It seems that I don't have much time left, but I'll still have a good time with her, hahaha. He said while laughing quietly. Issei was waking up without worry since it was a vacation, and he only had 3 months off to then attend his last year at the academy. When she opened her eyes she noticed that Sakvara was next to him sleeping comfortably attached to him, but she felt how the cold still prevailed around him, and she looked at the window, noticing that it was still raining so intensely. Issei gently let go of her and got up carefully so as not to wake her, proceeding to go to the kitchen. For a moment he thought that he didn't have a kettle, but he remembered that yesterday he luckily bought it in the store along with taxes, but he still needed more things for his home, so he made the decision to go out today to buy what he was missing, such as some furniture, appliances, etc. While he was preparing the kettle to boil the water, he realized that there was no bread to make. So he went to change his clothes and look for the umbrella to go out and buy them. Once found, he only proceeded to go to the entrance of his house and leave. It only took 15 minutes to go to the store and back. When he arrived he left the umbrella aside and went to the kitchen to boil the water and also to toast the bread in the pot since he didn't have a toaster and had to manage. When everything is finished he goes to the room to wake up the blonde-haired girl. Upon entering her, he could see how the beautiful woman was still asleep, so he just approached her and gently woke her up. Issei. Sakvara, wake up, let's go upstairs. Sakvara. Is Issei. He said as he woke up little by little. Issei. Up we go, breakfast is ready. Sakvara. I'm coming. He said as he got up and rubbed his eyes. Issei. I'll wait for you downstairs, okay, he said as he approached her to give her a kiss on your forehead and left the room, leaving her with a small smile of happiness, something that would only be seen by Issei. It only took him 2 minutes to go down and sit next to Issei to eat his breakfast. When they were both calmer he talked about the decision she made while preparing breakfast. Issei. Sakvara, I'm going to go buy a couple more things in the city, do you want to go with me? Sakvara. Sure, it will be fun to go together, but what are you planning to buy? Issei. Everyday things like things for the kitchen, furniture, some televisions and other things. Sakvara. Okay, let's finish breakfast and leave together, do you think? Issei. Of course, I want to enjoy this calm that I have by your side a little more. Sakvara. Pav. You are the best man, I could have fallen in love with Issei. She thought while smiling. After a while they both went out to buy what they had in mind and what they needed in their new home. It took them several hours to buy everything they needed, and why not some treats for themselves. For example, Sakvara bought clothes and shoes for her and Issei, the brown one who had bought a notebook, and box and a cell phone for him and Sakvara, also a guitar for the black one, since music had begun to attract him for a long time, and sometimes he sang in the shower. The big things they bought, such as furniture and televisions, were going to be sent to their home using the company's transport that was armored by the agency, but everything would arrive by 6 p.m. Which both young people were grateful for, and the smallest things simply sent him through a magic circle to his house. Before going back home, they both went to have fun around the city for a moment, took photos, ate together, went to the arcade, and finally went to buy one or another manga and collectible figurines. Then they headed to their small home to wait for the transport truck. When they arrived from their shopping, they left all the things inside their home. They both decided to put everything they bought into place, which took only 2 hours. Now they already had everything they needed in their home, but suddenly their stomachs began to growl as a sign of hunger, so the two proceeded to cook their dinner together. This is how they spent the days together, where they both strengthened their relationship. She managed to heal his heart by giving him all her love and affection, and he gave her all his affection and love. Later they both became boyfriends, thanks to the fact that she managed to return happiness to his heart. Whereas compensation, so to speak, she received pampering, affection and love from him. The days turned into weeks, to be precise 3 weeks and 4 days, and it was time for Sakvara to return to the underworld. Sakvara. No. I don't want to leave your side, Issei. He said while hugging the brunette and shaking his head. Issei. Come on, C-chan, don't get like that. It doesn't matter if I'm far from you, I'll still love you. She said while the brunette raised her face to see her head on. Sakvara. Ice, you really mean it, you really love me a lot. He said with a tender look. Issei. Of course, my love, if it weren't for you, I don't know what I would be like today. He said to slowly approach her lips, and she proceeds to do the same. Both young people showed their affection for each other through a kiss that only transmitted love. After a few seconds they both separated. Sakvara. Will you be okay, darling? What will you do while I'm not by your side? Issei. Don't worry, I'll be fine, I promise, and I was also thinking about traveling around the world and training. He said as he raised his hand and looked at it. You know that I still have part of my powers. At the time Mio, Femme Drake, left me. He took somehow all the powers I developed with her. Even when I was created with the flesh and blood of Great Red and part of Office's powers, my body had an essence equal to them. But now I don't have it, I'm just a mere human with power. Now he looked at Sakvara. I have to become stronger to be able to protect you from any threat, plus I am sure that some survivors of the Del Caos Brigade may hunt me down, now that I am weaker. Issei. But even so, even if I am anywhere in the world, we will stay in touch by cell phone. I will call you and send you photos. Sakvara. Sigh. Okay, but I don't want you to flirt with girls or for them to flirt with you. She said looking seriously at Issei. Maybe I'm new to this love thing, but still. You're mine. Understood, she said it almost shouting. Although it is the first time that she develops these multiple feelings because of her love, she is willing to give her best to protect what is hers from other women. Issei. Yes, he said, nervous and a little fearful. You know how much I love you, and only you will decide if a girl enters my heart. Sakvara. I know I won't be the only one in your heart. There is something about you that captivates me and makes me fall more and more in love with you, and that will bring the occasional woman, but she will have to go through me first before being with you, hahaha, and I will not be soft with anyone. She said to hug him tightly. I will really miss not having you in my arms and being able to feel your warmth that comforts me. Issei. I know it is also difficult for me without your caresses and affection, but even so we will love each other forever, C-chan. She said with a smile that captivated her, and not only her will be captivated by said smile. Sakvara. Ice. It was the only thing his lips uttered before joining them together with his in a kiss full of love and passion. Both were united by a strong hug while they kissed, where it lasted a few seconds and then separated. Sakvara only retreats 1 meter while a magic circle appeared below her and. Sakvara. I love you very much, Ice-kun. She said while a beautiful smile formed on her shoulder that only Issei would see. Issei. I love you too, C-chan, see you later, my love. He said with a smile of utmost happiness and with his hand saying goodbye to his beloved until she disappeared in the magic circle. When she returned to the underworld, she proceeded to do her work normally, only now she had that serious look that she usually gives to everyone, even the leaders. She would only show that side of her to her Issei. Plus she had the feeling that Rias and Sona she would be bothered by things that have to do with Ash, but she still didn't care in the slightest. Issei, seeing how his girlfriend left through a magic circle, could only wish her the best and that nothing bad would happen to her, but if something happened, he would not hesitate to go to her rescue help without caring about his exile. After the departure of his beloved, Issei only got ready for his trip, where in the process of the trip he would also train. Without knowing that he would discover things that would make him stronger. They only spent a couple of hours getting ready to leave for a while, despite now loving Sakura, thanks to the fact that she relieved what was in his heart, there were still those feelings that still caused him pain. He thought that maybe with this trip would erase those feelings he once had for his ex-girlfriends. Issei. Ah. He gave a sigh. Well, this is the best for me, I can't let this get me down anymore, I have to keep going no matter what, I'll do it for you C-chan, I'll do my best for you. He said to put on some headphones and disappear from his house. Unknown place. Now we see Issei coming out of an alley. Issei had appeared in the capital of Russia where, as fate would have it, it was not cold. Our brunette only proceeded to walk while observing everything around him and taking photos. He did not understand the Russian language very well, but he still did not care and continued on his way. He walked everywhere until he got hungry and began to look for a restaurant where he could enter and sit at an empty table and start to fall in the eyes of the women who were there. Issei noticed the looks of the people around him, but he didn't care, he just took the menu and waited for the waitress to serve him. Russian 1. Look at that young man. He looks beautiful. Russian 2. From here I can see that it doesn't have a ring, will it be available? Russian 3. I'll buy him a drink and when he's drunk I'll take him home. And so the local women did not stop ogling the young man with their gaze, but RUSSIAN 1. Who's this boy that he comes to steal our women? RUSSIAN 2. He's just a tourist, let's not give him importance comrades. Let's keep drinking hahaha. Issei noticed that they were talking about him and he only ignored their looks and comments, but not about the women, since more than one whistled at him, sent him kisses, winked at him and indicated with his finger that he was approaching them, but he just arrived. The waitress to take your order. Waitress. Hello, good afternoon, what are you going to order beauty? He said the last thing in a flirtatious tone. Issei. He said a little blushing while pointing his finger at the menu. Just that. Waitress. I'm coming with your order, cutie. She said to wink and leave. Issei. Hehehe. He let out some nervous laughs. I haven't even been in Russia for 3 hours and the women already want to take me to bed, if it had been the one from before I would surely go to their side. After a few minutes the waitress returned with your order, but she brought a bottle of vodka. Issei. Excuse me, but I haven't ordered any drinks. He said confused. Waitress. Well, if you see the group of women at the bar. She said pointing to the bar where the brown man saw how some women were sending him kisses and winks. They buy him this drink, enjoy it. But before leaving there was a piece of paper from his pocket and he gives it to her and approaches his cheek and gives him a kiss. Call me darling. He said to leave and continue his work. It was strange for him to experience this type of thing, but well, what was he going to do? He saves the number without knowing that it would give him a little problem later. The brunette only proceeded to eat and drink, but for some reason the vodka had no effect on him, but he didn't give it any importance. After a while, after finishing his meal, he just proceeded to pay and leave, but not before receiving several pieces of paper with phone numbers. Many local women. After this event he just decided to continue on his way to observe the beautiful things that Russia offers. He stayed like that for 3 days, until he went to Canada, where this time it was cold, but he decided to continue with his trip observing the city. After for a while he had arrived at a town where he did not care, he only saw that in the distance there was a mountain covered in snow, so he decided to go there. He walked until he found a small height descending from the mountain, and without hesitation, he decided to follow where said river came from, so as not to get lost. He had planned to train in that place to increase his physical resistance and the cold. Issei only went deeper into the forest until he found a place to stay. He listened to music and hummed a few lyrics, but he had an earphone out of his ear, so he could to be alert in case a wild animal appeared. But then he reached a part of the music that he liked the most and began to move from side to side while humming. Issei. Hey. Issei. What? Issei turned around looking for where that voice came from, but he didn't see anyone until. Issei. Ouch, he said when he felt something fall on his head and he turned around to see what it was. A pine tree. Up here. He said, drawing the attention of the boy who turned around quickly. Issei saw that up in a tree on a branch there was a small fox with 9 tails. Sitting as she stared at him. Issei. Who are you? Why are you following me? Don't worry kid, I'm not following you, I live not far from here and you're in my territory. Regarding my name is Kurama. Issei. Kurama. I don't know what to say now. Kurama. You will tell me what you are doing in my territory or I will kick you out of here. Issei. Don't worry, I'm just here to train and for that I had to be far away from the person so that they wouldn't see me like a crazy person doing strange things. Kurama. And why in my territory? Issei. I'm not from here, I'm from Japan, I just traveled and just trained along the way. Kurama. You're going to train in this cold? Hahaha, don't make me laugh. Issei. Although it may not seem like it, it belonged to the supernatural world. Kurama. How do I know it's not a lie? Issei. It's a long story, but we can camp somewhere since night is falling. Kurama. Come, he said, jumping from the tree and starting to guide him. Issei only followed the little boy because suddenly a snowstorm started with strong winds, which made them both start walking slower due to the decrease in their vision. But they were able to reach a small cave. Issei was inspecting the place, and then he left his things aside when he finished inspecting and tells Kurama that he will bring dry branches to make a fire. Then he returns and sees the little boy who had his head inside his backpack, and with his teeth he took out a bag of candy. Then he put his head back, and this time taking out a bag of chips and finally a bottle of juice. Issei. What are you supposed to do? He said while he left the branches on the ground. Kurama. Hey, I got hungry and I noticed that thing had these things inside that smelled delicious, and also the thing that had liquids. He said while he pointed to the backpack and the things he took out. I don't know what it was, but it looked like it had water, so I took it out too. Issei. I see, He gives a small sigh and takes the things that Kurama took out of his backpack. Which one do you want to eat first? He said to Zoro, who looked at him and pointed to the chips. Well, now I'll talk about it. Once opened, he gave it to the little boy and he put his head in the bag and began to eat it calmly. Issei only laughed a little at this scene and only decided to turn around and arrange the branches, but. Kurama. You need fire, I'll do it for you. He said while he had potato chips all over his face. Then he begins to put his 9 tails together, and in the middle of them a small flame is created that goes towards the pile of branches. Issei. Well, with that done and before telling you about my life. He said, drawing the fox's attention, who saw how he took out some strange things from a pocket dimension, along with more food and vegetables. Kurama. What are these things? He said looking at an aluminum pot. Issei. It's a pot to cook the things you take out. Kurama. Is that meat? Issei. Yes, we'll eat some pork while I tell you my story. Kurama. Okay, but how long will it take for the food to be ready? Issei. Not much. Well, let's start. While he was cooking, he told him all his adventures since he died until his abandonment, his banishment, and how his new mate was there for him, while the little boy just listened while he ate. It was already night and the snowstorm was not there at all. After telling the whole story about him and finishing eating, they just stayed looking at the small bonfire. Kurama. Wow, I don't know what to say about your story. I also didn't believe that the factions used you only as a tool and then discarded you, were still your battle partner and your mates agreed and changed you, but well, at least now you know who to trust and who not to. Issei. Yes, but despite everything, what they did to me still hurts, and I just hope that with this trip, I can forget all this suffering that I carry inside. Kurama. How about he helped you train as a thank you for the food, but we'll have to go to the mountain at dawn. She said calmly. Issei. Well, why not, haha. Gives a small yawn. If we better go to sleep, I already got sleepy and so did you. Kurama. Now that you mention it, sleep got to me too. The brunette only took out a sleeping bag that was tied to his backpack and placed it on the ground. Issei. And where do you sleep? Kurama. Anywhere, my fur keeps me warm at all times. Issei. You can also sleep on top of the backpack, no problem, he said while yawning. Well, until tomorrow. Kurama. See you tomorrow. He said while he saw how he fell sound asleep. This will be interesting. After that he started walking towards the backpack and climbing on top of it and curling up and little by little falling asleep. The next morning Issei was waking up a little sleepy, so as he woke up little by little, he began to look for his little companion, who was asleep on top of his backpack while he was drooling and had several wrappers around him from the snacks he ate yesterday. Issei. Yawn. I guess I'll make myself a coffee from my backpack while you get up. He said as he got up and went to look for wood for the fire. After making his coffee and having Kurama get up while offering him some coffee and a can of yesterday's ingredients, they both went to the place where Kurama would help him train. Kurama. Well, Issei, first I will help you feel the flow of mana from nature in order to improve your senses and increase your strength. Issei. Like Yakai Yujutsu, I asked since I had some knowledge of the power of certain yakais that I knew. Kurama. No, I'm talking about something purer than what those unfortunate people who stain the purity of nature with that use. I am talking about the chakra, which is the essence of nature and therefore pure and more powerful. Issei. Wow, then how do I feel the flow? Kurama. First get into the lotus position, then breathe and clear your mind while exhaling. Issei. Okay, I'll try it. He said while he got into position and proceeded to do what was mentioned. After a while Kurama could notice how the Kai of nature entered Issei's body. This surprised him since it only took him a few minutes, but then he remembered that he already had some knowledge, so he deduced that this made things easier for him. Kurama. Well boy, I see that you are achieving it now, channel that energy with yours little by little, but remember to stay calm and clear, since the slightest sentimental instability you have could turn out to be catastrophic. He said while staring at Issei. Issei. Okay. Wait, what? He said while he got excited since he had not told him it was dangerous. Can this kill me? Kurama. Calm down boy, remember that you have to concentrate, otherwise it would be harmful, and if it were safe it wouldn't be effective. Upon hearing that Issei began to calm down, Kurama saw this and nodded, but saw that the flow was becoming unstable and tried to stop it. Kurama. Issei, stop absorbing the energy. He said excitedly as the flow became more and more chaotic until he saw that Issei was beginning to convulse, so he quickly threw a ball of air at him so that he would stop absorbing more chakra and approached Issei. Issei to see his status. Issei was unconscious with 2-degree burns, since the energy he absorbed was too frenetic. Kurama attributed it to the negative feelings he had due to the betrayal that caused the flow to destabilize. First he would have to completely overcome them to be able to continue training, so with the help of his tails, he lifted him up and took him to the cave. After healing him with his power, he bandaged him and lay down, while he thought about how to make him stop thinking about his betrayal. Kurama. This is complicated. Despite having his current mate, he is still somewhat afraid of the same thing happening again. He must let it go and move on to be able to move forward. He thought as he finished bandaging him. There must be something that helps him. What he experienced at their hands was too much for one person. While saying that, Kurama felt a vibration and saw that it came from Issei's backpack, so he approached and checked it, seeing that it was Issei's cell phone. When he checked it, he noticed that it said C-chan with hearts, so he assumed it was his mate, and so he saw that it was a voice message for him. When she was about to play it, she began to hear moans of pain and suffering, so she looked at Issei and saw that he was moving while he was lying down. She quickly went to him and saw that he was still asleep, but when she returned, she began to complain. Kurama. He must be remembering everything that happened that day. You must fight and not let these emotions control you, or else you will not be able to become strong to protect what he loves most. He said looking at him while he was lying down. Inside Issei's subconscious he was reliving what happened the day they betrayed him. Rias. We only use you for our benefit, as a tool. Boru. You are no longer part of this family. Miki. You're not my son anymore. Mikeno. Ara. Ash-kun is much better than you at everything, and he is also more assertive with us. And much more. Issei was listening to while trying to stop listening to them. Suddenly he starts crying in pain and asking why. That he did wrong for them to do that to him. Well, many copies of his ex-girlfriends, ex-parents, colleagues and acquaintances began to laugh at him around him. Issei. Why, if I gave everything for you, I even gave my life everything to want to be by your side, why do I receive this? He said while holding his head and crying, but suddenly he began to remember his current mate Sekvera, how she consoled him, helped him and gave him that sincere affection that he wanted. No, I am not alone. I have her who showed me that I can still be loved, so I will not fall for people who did not value me. I will stand up for her and her sincere love that she has for me, and I will fight against these fears from now on. He said trying to stand up, but even though he was beginning to stop being manipulated by his fear and pain from the betrayal, he was too weak, but suddenly he heard the voice of his C-chan calling him, so he looked everywhere trying to see her. Until he saw his image in front of him. Sekvera. I feel so lucky to have met you and why every day you continue to choose me to be by your side. You are the only man who showed me how beautiful it is to be with another person by my side. You are the best thing that could have ever happened to me, Issei. I love you today, tomorrow and always. I hope that soon we will see each other again, my eyes, and thus have you in my arms. See you, dear. Take care and come back soon. I will wait for you. He told her while he gave her a kiss full of affection and disappeared for a while. A light. While outside his mind, Kurama was playing the voice message that Sekvera sent to Issei to help him overcome his trauma. Kurama. I hope she helps you leave that torment you have. Him. He said as he watched him calm down and begin to fall asleep. The next morning Issei began to wake up a little sore and looked everywhere trying to see where he was until he recognized that it was the cave where he and his Kyuubi friend were. Kurama. I see that you woke up, Issei. How are you feeling? Something hurts you. Issei. I'm fine, my burns only burn a little, but what happened? Why did my chakra start to hurt if I was controlling it well? I asked confused. Kurama. From what I saw, even though your mate healed your heart, you are still afraid of being betrayed again deep inside. He said seriously. But apparently you are starting to accept it and get over it. He said happily since it seems that his mate was handling it well. It seems that listening to her voice message managed to dispel that doubt that was consuming him in his heart. he thought, remembering how he made him listen to the message while he was unconscious. Issei. Yes, thanks to the fact that she was with me during that event, I was able to move on, but I still have a part of those feelings inside me. Kurama. Well, it means eliminating them before you train, since you will not be able to control the chakra if you continue to have those negative emotions. He said thoughtfully. I know, you better start meditating these days of rest while you recover, then we will continue with the training. Issei. And how do I do that if every time I sleep and she is not next to me I dream about that? Kurama. Start meditating so you can clear your mind while you recover. Then Issei did what Kurama told him to do on the days he rested. After a few days they continued with the training. After basically understanding and mastering the chakra, they began the physical parts such as resistance, agility, strength, as well as their mental resistance, so that they no longer suffer from a psychological attack that could make them weaken. For almost a month Issei learned various techniques, skills and improved his physique much more to such a degree that it could be seen that he had marked his body to such an extent that it could be said that he has a well-defined body. During one of his training sessions he could see that his resistance to pain improved greatly because while he was practicing Kurama accidentally pushed him off a cliff, so when he went down to see if he was okay, he saw that he was just shaking the dust off his clothes. When he only had a few months of vacation left to return to the academy, he decided to stop his training and decided to travel a little more, but he would get a little fox surprise with him. Kurama. Well, buddy, where are we going now, he said while he had a stick with a bag in his tail. Issei. Hey. Are you going to come with me, I asked surprised. Kurama. Well, of course, mate, we spend a lot of time together so you won't get rid of me easily. She said with a foxy smile. I am also your teacher and spiritual advisor. Issei. I admit that I'm a teacher and a mate, but I doubt it as a counselor, plus you spent all your time eating my things while you tortured me in training with your demands. Kurama. Hey, but thanks to that you're like this now, so thank you, and we are united. Issei. Well, I'll take you if you want, but are you sure about leaving your home, don't you have any memories from here? Kurama. Don't worry about that, besides, this cave was temporary. I'm always changing my hunting area so I can be calm, but I think that with you, I'll be able to see interesting and fun things. Issei. Okay Mr. Chaperone, then let's go then. They both went out to see what destiny had in store for them both. For a month they visited several countries such as Australia, England, France among other countries. During his trips he continued training and seeing various tourist places, such as the Big Bang Tower. But during his visits to these places certain things happened that will cause him problems later. On their trip to England they decided to rest in a restaurant for lunch, but what they didn't know is that the local women looked at Issei affectionately because of his figure and way of being, since he transmitted happiness and joy. This always happened everywhere. I was going since her appearance was beautiful, cover appearance for those who want to see what she looked like. Some only looked at him discreetly while others were more obvious, but others approached him to talk to him. Sometimes he gladly accepted the conversations, since he wanted to know a little about the culture of the place, while other times he just told them that he was visiting tourism and that I wanted to rest, obviously, in a courteous way, I said it. But what surprised both of them was that some women gave her his phone number. But what impressed him most was that they met an interesting person during their trip to France. When they had both arrived at a park through a magic circle they decided to camp there since they wanted a little fresh air. When they were about to prepare dinner a young woman saw them and recognized Issei, so she went to him to talk. But as she approached they both felt it thanks to the fact that it had demonic essence. Issei became defensive since he thought that the factions wanted to eliminate him. When the girl saw that they were about to attack her, she decided to speak to lighten the atmosphere. Don't worry, I was just walking around here and I saw them so Issei comes to greet you. She said nervously since Issei was looking at her seriously since he didn't trust her. Issei. Who are you and why did you want to greet me? I don't know you. Kurama said seriously, just watching quietly since he didn't know if it was a trap, so he decided not to speak. I saw you at the meeting of the young demons a few months ago Issei. My name is Leisha Asterid, nice to meet you. He said calmly. Issei. Are you related to Beelzebub? I asked surprised. Leisha. Yes, I'm his niece. Issei. And since you came, maybe the leaders ordered you to spy on me. He said annoyed. Leisha didn't know why he said that since she was out of date with the events that happened a few months ago, so she asked. Leisha. What do you mean? Because the leaders would send you to observe or because I would laugh at you? She said confused. Issei. You don't know what they did to me. I asked, confused that she doesn't know about her banishment. Leisha. No, I was on a mission here in France trying to locate if there were any remnants of the Chaos Brigade that had been left behind after the war. After verifying that there was nothing, I decided to take a vacation from the affairs of the underworld, so no. I know what happened these months that I was away. He said while explaining why he didn't know what was happening. Issei, seeing that she showed no signs of lying, began to tell her everything that had happened from her recovery to the banishment and betrayal of her mates. Leisha was surprised and disappointed by what was said, surprised by what they did to Issei and disappointed by what the factions did to him, but she was even more outraged that her family and her uncle had done that to the savior of Shi. Leisha. I'm sorry Issei, I didn't know what the others did to you. She said sobbing. Issei. Don't worry, it's not your fault, you weren't there so you couldn't do anything, and if you did, they would have possibly retaliated against you. He said trying to calm her down. After they both calmed down, they decided to eat what the brunette had prepared while they were talking, but then Leisha noticed Kurama who was eating and approached him to pet him. Leisha. How cute, what's your pet's name? She said, making Kurama have a vein on her head and Issei laughing at being called a pet. Kurama. Like what a petulant little brat pet. He said angrily, scaring Leisha from letting him speak. I am his partner and Jinchuriki, my name is Kurama. He beat with fright and picked him up and slammed him against a tree while he hid behind Issei. Later when Issei tells him and talks about his and her trip, Leisha apologized to him for the hit, Kurama just snorts and forgives her. After finishing dinner they decide to stay there for a while longer looking at the fire, but Leisha began to hum a soft melody, both boys listened to it until Issei proceeded to sing, leaving them both surprised that she knows how to do it. While singing Issei thinking about Sekvera. When he finished, both Kurama and Leisha were surprised by his voice, but Leisha listened to the song blushing since she thought his way of singing was cute and she thought that thanks to the fact that Issei's ex-girlfriends abandoned him, she could try to be with him and see if the things worked. But suddenly he shook his head as he remembered that maybe he is still hurt by the betrayal, so he thought that first they should get to know you better and gain your trust to be able to be by your side. She doesn't know that he is in a relationship with Sekvera, even though Issei reserved that part. When it finished they both applauded, so Issei was blushing because he got carried away by the melody and ended up singing. After that they decide to rest a little. The next morning they both wake up, but Kurama was on top of Issei. Upon seeing the little boy he decides to play a joke on him, so he gently grabs him and suddenly puts him in his backpack and shakes him simulating a kidnapping. Kurama started to scream out of fright. After Issei left him Kurama decided to take revenge when he could. When the three of them said goodbye and exchanged phone numbers to stay in touch, they left waving goodbye. Issei decided to go back to what she did. She went to see a couple of interesting places that she had yet to visit. After ending his trip, he decided to return home with his companion since he wanted to rest from the trip and be with his girlfriend during the 2 weeks he had left to rest before returning to the academy and having to see them. Plus Sekvera was already unemployed so they would be together soon. But what she didn't know is that her Kyuubi friend already had the perfect revenge for him for his prank. Issei was entering his home with Kurama, he put down his backpack and Kurama left there starting to inspect Issei's home. When he saw the aforementioned couch he jumped on top of it and turned on the television when Issei spoke to him from the stairs. Issei. Well Kurama, I'm going to take a bath, let me know if something happens. He said as he went up to the second floor. Kurama. Okay Issei he said while looking for what to watch on television. After a while Issei comes down with a towel around his waist and says to Kurama. Issei. Kurama grabs my cell phone and I ordered some pizzas. In my agenda the shipping contact is scheduled as a delivery person. Kurama. Okay. He said while looking for contact and dialing. After a while Issei came down already dressed and began to set the table while waiting for the delivery man. When he hears a knock on the door and he goes to answer it, after having paid for the food he went to the kitchen and began to put the food on the table when Kurama appeared trying to eat a slice of pizza, but before doing so Issei stopped. He takes her out and tells her that he had to wait for someone else to eat. Kurama reluctantly decides to sit and wait. After a few minutes a magic circle appeared in the living room and out of it comes Sekvera who, upon seeing Issei, goes to hug him. Sekvera. Honey, I missed you a lot, how are you and how was your trip he said happily when out of the corner of his eye, he saw a fox thing sitting in a chair which saw everything monotonously. Ice-kun, what is that little creature sitting there? Issei. He is my friend Kurama, I found him on one of my trips that I took. Sekvera only approached to caress him, but Kurama spoke, surprising her. Kurama. Excuse me, but what are you planning to do he said calmly so as not to scare her, since he thought that, like the other devil he met with Issei, she would be scared by the fact that he spoke. When Sekvera heard it he was surprised and jumped back while Issei was asking him. Sekvera. Issei, what is he? I asked stunned. After Issei explained to him the story of the meeting between Kurama, he proceeds to show him the photos he took of his trip to Sekvera, but what he did not notice is that Kurama was going to take advantage of this to get revenge on his prankster who made him. Kurama. Hey Issei, also show him the photos of the stalls and restaurants we visited. He said with a foxy shitty grin while trying not to laugh. At what Kurama said, Issei pales as he remembered the photos he took with the native girls of those countries, and in an attempt not to end up facing his angry mate, he tried to divert the topic to another to save himself. Issei. You know I think I'm hungry, how about after dinner we finish talking about the trip, do you think, he said nervously. Sekvara, seeing that Issei was nervous, quickly takes the cell phone from him and starts looking at the photos of his trip. Sekvara. Issei, who are these women that appear next to you in the photos? She said with a tender smile while releasing a purple aura behind her which Issei swears he saw seen a terrifying skull. Issei. Don't worry, C-chan, they were only women I met and we got along a little, and they helped me understand their culture. He said, scared by her look that didn't indicate anything good. Sekvara. Hamaha, and only women came for that, right, she said sarcastically. Issei. Not just women, later on I also took photos with friends that I made too. He said, terrified that I would hit him like a drum. Sekvara, upon hearing this, checks if it is true, and seeing that it was true he calms down a little. Sekvara. Well, Ice-kun, I believe you, but then I want you to tell me about each person and place you went to. Yes. She said calmly. Issei. Yes, C-chan, after having dinner in the room, I'll tell you the details of my trip. He said calmly that he had been saved, but then he looked askance at Kurama, who was smiling maliciously. At this, Issei had a bad feeling, but before say or do something Kurama stepped forward. Kurama. Cough cough, contacts, cough cough. He said pretending to have a cough. Even this, Issei, in an attempt to get out of this mess, tries to grab his cell phone that was on the living room table, but Sekvara, noticing his intentions, pushes him away and starts checking his contacts. While he was checking, it was clear on his face that he was not very happy, but then he saw a name that became known to him and he checked it, and Issei looked at the green guy, asking for an explanation as to why he had this person scheduled. Sekvara. Issei, why is Leisha's number in your contact list? He said as he began to release murderous instinct. Issei turns pale at this since he did not remember that he had it scheduled, and before the situation got out of control, he began to tell her about his meeting and chat with Leisha. After explaining and being scolded by Sekvara, the three proceed to dinner. After finishing the meal, Kurama went to the couch to watch television, while Issei and Sekvara went to the room to rest, in which she proceeded to tell him everything that happened on her trip and training. The next morning they both get up and go to the kitchen. When they came down they saw Kurama lying on the couch with a couple of packages of cookies. They both look at each other and start laughing. After having breakfast and Kurama cleaning up his mess, they proceed to go for a walk, just the two of them. After a few hours of going out and buying some things, they both return home and prepare dinner, watch a couple of movies and go to their room. This was how things were during the last week that Issei had free before returning to the academy. On the Monday when the holidays were ending, Issei was waking up early. While he woke up completely, he put the coffee maker on and was going to take a bath. While he was already in the shower, Sekvara got up and saw that Issei was not there, but at that moment, she heard the shower on, so that's how the bathroom went to surprise the brunette. Issei was humming while taking a shower. When he suddenly felt someone's arm surrounding him. Sekvara. Guess who? She said flirtatiously. Issei. A horny demon. He said, turning around and kissing her from her neck to her lips. Sekvara. Hey. Ice. She said excitedly. Today you are not naughty. She said seductively as she got horny. Issei. Well, this happens because someone got frisky with the wrong person, dear. He said while he continued caressing the thighs and chest of her beloved when, in a carelessness on her part, he nibbled on her ear while whispering to her. Also tell me, maybe you didn't come with that intention either when you came to me in the middle of the shower. She said in a playful and seductive way, and then began massaging his rear and expanding her entrance with each movement that her hands made in circles while he held her fleshy thighs. Even this, Sekvara did not resist any longer, so he began to follow Issei's initiative, but before finishing giving himself body and soul, Issei stops. Sekvara. What happened, Ice-kun, why did you stop? She said eagerly. Issei. Don't worry, we both want to continue with this, but I want it to happen at a time when we remember it. I want us to give each other a special moment where we both show our love and consummate it as one. Even this, both finished bathing while there was some previous frolicking. After this, they both have breakfast with their fox friend, and when Issei was dressed in her uniform, Sekvara spoke to him. Sekvara. Issei, I know you should go and finish your studies, but promise me that you will take care of them in case they look for you. I know you can take care of yourself, but I want you to promise me that you will be fine, yes. She said as she hugged him. Issei. Don't worry, I'll just go to study and nothing else. I don't care about them and the factions. The only thing that matters to me in the supernatural is you, my dear. She said while reciprocating her hug and kissing her. This would have continued if not for Kurama. And maybe I'm just for decoration or what he said, annoyed at being excluded from the family. Because of that, both Issei and Sekvara laugh and both tell him to come hug. After the emotional moment they had, Issei heads towards the entrance to go to the academy when Kurama stops him. Kurama. Well mate, let's see what we do there. Issei. Kurama, where I'm going, I don't think you can go since they don't allow animals, and it would be very strange. Kurama. Hey, we're both together, do you remember he said as he began to shrink to get into the backpack. I'll be discreet. Issei. Well come on friend. He said leaving together. On the way they were both thinking about what they would do since being exiled. Issei had a lot of free time, in addition to the training that Kurama gave him, he still had a lot of time, since his girlfriend sometimes had to be in the underworld for clan business, so he had a lot of time. Issei. Hey Kurama, what do you think about joining a club since we have a lot of time after the academy, plus this way we are busy and avoid getting bored. Kurama. Yes, because we don't have fun like that, but do you think they will accept you in one since from what you told me about what you were like before, I don't think they will let you enter one. Issei. Yes, you're right, what will we do he said thoughtfully. What if I formed my own club so I can avoid people talking about me? Kurama. Good idea, but what club would you create? I know what a music club is like since you're good at it. Issei. Yes, why not, plus I already have some sketches of songs that I made, but I never got around to singing them. Kurama. Well then it's decided it will be a music club. After that talk he decided to start the club. When he arrived he could see Ravel and Kaneko chatting with some friends. When he crossed nearby, he could notice that they had the scent of a boy and he assumed it was Ashes, but he didn't give it any importance since he didn't care who they were with, so he left. He turned around and continued into the classroom. When he arrived, he was going to sit down when he felt something coming towards him, so he crouched down and two people fell to the floor, which were Mitsuda and Motohama. Issei. What a couple of fools they are. Mitsuda. Damn traitor, we know that you spent your vacation with the girls from the occult club. Motohama. Tell us what you did with them during that time. Issei. Listen, you idiots, I stopped being a member of that club a long time ago, so stop fooling around. Mitsuda. Sorry, what are you saying about going after school to spy on the kendo girls? Given what was said, the class looked at the three with a bad face, but they were surprised by what the brunette said. Issei. Sorry guys, but you had something to do after school so no. Before the pervert duo or anyone said anything, a girl spoke. Murayama. Are you planning on having a threesome of perverts? Hadis. Surely they are planning to spy on us in the locker room. Issei. Sorry but I don't have more important things to do later. What he said surprised the two girls, but they did not believe him, but when they were about to reprimand him the teacher came in. At the end of class Issei went to the teacher's lounge and asked for permission to reopen the music club. After that she went to the living room to see what she was missing or her condition. When she arrived and opened it, she saw that it was full of dirt, but the instruments were in perfect condition. So she cleaned and put things away. When she finished she went straight home. The next day was earlier since Sekvara went to the underworld, but before leaving he kissed Issein's neck but did not notice that he left a hickey mark with lipstick on his neck. When he arrived he took a laptop out of his backpack and began to finish his work. Draft songs. While he was doing that Kurama came out and sat on an armchair that was there and asked. Kurama. Well, when will you do the first song Issei? Issei. Today during the second break I will have it to record it. Kurama. Well then, what will we do for the first break? Issei. Well, we will use the first one for lunch. The bell just rang to enter, so Kurama got into his backpack and they went to the living room. At the end they went to the dining room, but when he was about to sit down, he avoided a hug from Motohama. Issei. Well now what do you two want? I asked tiredly. Mitsuda. Hey Issei, we wanted to invite you to watch these hot videos behind the old building. All the girls in the room saw them with disgusted faces, but they did not expect a refusal from the brunette. Issei. I'm sorry but no, I'm very busy now and I stopped doing that since the holidays. What was said left many impressed, but some believed it was a cover to continue spying on the girls. But then someone appears and starts questioning him. Kiryu. Wow, maybe the pervert left perversion aside, I don't believe it at all. To what do we owe this supposed change of attitude, pervert-kun? Issei. It's not due to any special reason Aika, I just decided to finally mature because I was already about to move to the stage where behaving like an immature child would be very stupid of me, just that. Aika. I don't think that's the reason for your change, maybe it's due to a possible Ella in your life, right? Let's see, you come well dressed, you changed your appearance, you come with your hairstyle, and you also stop perverting, that is not due to a girl in particular. At what was said, he left everyone in the dining room stunned. The pervert, Kuo's beast, had a girlfriend. No one believed that was possible. But some girls who heard that did not like it very much, but they pretended to be surprised when Laika approached and noticed something that bothered her in Issei. Aika. But look what we have here. I point out a mark on his neck. We have a pacifier, so that's why your change was due. Hey, so now you don't need those videos, since you have someone to do it with, right? He said while smiling, but inside he was screaming. Issei. I don't know what you're talking about. He said nervously while hiding the mark on his neck. Seeing him nervous made many women think he was cute because he looked cute like that, but for some women it didn't sit well, knowing that the brunette had a girlfriend. Issei. Yes, excuse me, I have to go, goodbye. She quickly proceeded to leave. Aika saw this seriously while mentally cursing the woman who took away the person she liked. That's right, friends. Aika is in love with Issei since he didn't see her as just anyone because of her perversions, but for fear of people speaking badly of them. She never confessed her love, but now that she knows that someone took her, Issei will not hesitate to make her feelings clear to the brunette and see if she could be with him, since she is not against his dream of being king of the harem. But first you must prove your love to him and his mate to be able to do something. After escaping from that interrogation, Issei went to the tree where he always sat for lunch. When he arrived, he noticed that someone was watching him, but he didn't give it any importance since he thought it could be some girl who still thought he was spying on them. When he finished lunch, he went to the living room, but on the way he passed Zenobia and Irina, who gave him a look of disgust, but he didn't care and continued on his way to his living room. But he noticed that, like Ravel and Kaneko, she had the essence of both of them. He had felt and assumed that they did it to him, but he just moved on without taking it into account. At the end of class, he went to the club to compose a song, but he did not notice that someone was following him. When he arrived, he only closed the door and began to organize the things he would use and set the computer to tune to his chords, while Kurama went out to see what he was doing. When he finished the preparations, he started. But he didn't notice that someone was outside the door recording what he would play. Aika. Well, people, here Aika live. We are at the doors of the recently opened music club, in which the ancient perverted beast is who is about to compose a melody. But what I didn't know is that most of the people at the academy were paying attention to her live performance. Issei. Well, here I go, Kurama. When I make a sign to you, you accompany my chords with claps, yes? Kurama. Okay, just let yourself go and do it, and if it goes wrong, I'll tell you. Issei just sighed and started. At the end, Issei sighed and cut off the recording. He looked at Kurama waiting for his response. Kurama was speechless. He thought that he didn't like me, or that he was out of tune. Kurama. That looks great on you, Issei. It was the best thing I heard. You should upload it on a platform. Issei. I don't know, I don't think it's very good to upload. But what I didn't know is that his song was recorded live through an opening in the door, in addition to being seen by the majority of the academy and various people from around the world who like to see the live show where the beating of the perverted duo came out. Laika was blushing because of Issei's way of singing, but she just heard that Issei was about to leave the club, so she hurried away from the door and went to a corner and saw what Issei was doing. At the end of the song and resting a little, he decided to return home since his girlfriend would be there today to have dinner together. So he left the room and went to his house without noticing a blushing Aika who was looking at him in the corner. Aika. Baka Issei, you must take care of these feelings that you provoke in me. She said hotly. Now at home, he proceeds to bathe and prepare dinner for himself, his girlfriend and Kurama. At the end, he prepares the table while controlling the food. A magic circle appears and from there Sekvara comes out all dirty. Issei. Si-chan, what happened to you, are you okay? He asked worriedly as he approached. Sekvara. Don't worry, Issei, it was just a mission. We had to fight a new creature that looked like a minotaur. Issei. A minotaur. But not that they belong to the Yaokai faction because they attacked them. Sekvara. I don't know, dear, but we only know that he did not belong to them, since he was different from those of the Yaokai faction. Issei. Okay, dear, go take a bath and I'll take out the food, yes. Sekvara. Okay, Ice-kun, I'll be right back. But that he went to the bathroom. While Issei went up, he looked at Kurama, who was more serious than normal. Issei. What do you think about this, Kurama? Do you have any idea what's happening, or did you see something before? Kurama. No, this seems a little strange to me. I know the race of minotaurs, but from what he said, this one was very different from them. Maybe they are former renegades of their race who did not accept peace and formed a subspecies over the years or something. Maybe, as crazy as it sounds, they could be experiments created by someone. Issei. What? Do you really think that they are lab rats? The first thing is safer than that. Kurama. Maybe, but remember there are many people who want to have an army, and it is possible that those people have the means to create or clone them. You know that Rizavam had managed to make a copy of Office to deposit his power and thus control him, and possibly this is the same case. Issei. You're right about that, but remember he's not here anymore, I made sure of that before they banished me. Kurama. Yes, I know, but he may have received help from someone, plus they never found all their bases, and that someone could continue making the plans they had before their defeat. Issei. Damn, that means that thing could be a new weapon of the Chaos Brigade. Kurama. Don't worry, we're not sure about that, these are just speculations that I gave, but in the event that this is the case or not, if Sekvara needs help, will you help her? Issei. You don't need to ask, but I will only help her and Leisha, I no longer owe the others anything, and I don't care about them, they can take care of themselves, and they also have Ash to help them. Kurama, count on me if you need my help, for that we are colleagues and family. Issei. Thanks mate, well let's leave this and wait for C-chan for dinner. Kurama. Don't say it twice, I'm already hungry from thinking so much. He said while floating his paws. Issei. You're always hungry, Kurama. Kurama. Hey, that's offensive. I'm not always eating, sometimes I sleep and other times I watch television in addition to helping you with training during the afternoon and dawn. They both looked at each other and gave a smile since they got along well, after a few minutes under Sekvara already dressed and bathed, and they proceeded to dinner. At the end of dinner Issei and Sekvara went to the room since Issei wanted to dedicate the song he composed today to him, while Kurama barely made it to the couch since he had eaten a lot, so when he arrived he turned on the television and entered a music platform to listen. Music while digesting dinner. At that he saw something that surprised him, and it was Issei's song that was being played many times. Kurama. I must be hallucinating since we didn't upload the song to any platform, he said while rubbing his eyes. I better go to sleep. The next day Kurama got up and turned on the television to see if what he saw yesterday was true, and what he saw made him pale, was that Issei's song was being played, so he quickly went to Issei's room and knocked down the door. A lunge after a jump fell on Issei, waking him and Sekvara. Issei. Be thankful that thanks to the training I didn't feel it because otherwise I would grab my bath mat. He said as he got up and kissed Sekvara. Kurama. This is bad mate, look on the music platform in the recommended section. He said upset. Given what Kurama Issei said, he proceeds to turn on the television and watch the recommended ones. Issei. I'm fine but I don't see anything out of the ordinary that you wanted me to see. Kurama. Keep looking below. Sekvara. What's wrong Kurama, why are you so anxious, maybe you saw someone you know there. Kurama. Something like that but you wouldn't believe me if I told you. When Sekvara was about to speak they heard how the television control fell, and they saw that Issei was in shock pointing at the television, so they both saw what he was pointing at and saw the song that Issei composed for Sekvara. Kurama. You see that's why I uploaded it quickly, how can your song be if we never uploaded? Sekvara. That's the song you dedicated to me yesterday Issei, how is it on that platform? Ella. She said surprised that she was becoming famous so quickly, but she felt that it would bring problems in the future with women, and it gave her a chill just thinking about them trying to take away her mate. Issei was very surprised since he didn't think people would like his song, but he wonders how he got there and saw who uploaded it. Issei. It can't be I who uploaded it, but when I recorded it I was alone when I composed it. At that point he enters the song and notices how she recorded it through an opening in the door. Okay, I have to make sure I'm around better next time, and luckily you didn't go out there Kurama since I can't focus on the entire room. She said giving a sigh of relief. Kurama. We have to be more careful because we might expose ourselves too much. At that they both look at each other and nod while Sekvara was planning what to do since now his Issei would become famous and that would attract attention from women. After that everyone proceeds to have breakfast and do their daily routine until the time they had to go to their respective duties. Issei. Well, take care of yourself, C-chan. He said while trying to kiss her, but she dodged him to kiss him on the lips and then bite his neck to leave her mark. Sekvara. This is so that no slut tries to get close to what is mine. At that Issei proceeds to do the same, but he increased the intensity a little more, eliciting a tender moan from her. He continued like this until he started caressing her passionately and Sekvara started to copy him, but before he got older. Kurama. Remember that you have things to do, couple of feverish people. Given what was said, they both separated embarrassed. Issei. If it weren't for you being right, I would be kicking you on the ground right now for interrupting what we were doing. Kurama. Then you can be like rabbits now it's time for your homework. What was said made both of them blush, and before they beat Kurama to death, a circle of communication appeared in Sekvara's ear. Sekvara. Ice-kun, my parents are calling me, see you later. He said, returning to normal as he said goodbye and disappeared. Issei. Take care of yourself dear. He said correspondingly. After that they both went to the academy. After the first class Issei was in the dining room, but he was only looking at his cell phone since he forgot his lunch, so a girl approaches him to talk to him. "Hello, can I sit since there are no more spaces available?" I ask Issei. Issei. He said distractedly until he noticed that they were talking to him. "Ah, sorry, if you can sit down, it's unoccupied," he said embarrassed. "Thank you, I was looking for a place to have lunch." "Excuse my manners, I'm the representative of Class 3A, my name is Rumi Hanagawa, and you're Issei Haidu from Class 3B, right?" she asked. Issei. "Hello Rumi, yes I am Issei, but I no longer carry the last name Haidu due to complicated issues," he said calmly. "Rumi. Sorry if I made you uncomfortable because of that," she said sadly. Issei. "Don't worry, it doesn't bother me, it's just difficult to explain." After that they both continued talking and getting to know each other, but one person saw this as jealous, so he decided to approach and talk to them. "Aika. Hello, can I accompany you?" I asked both of them. Of course they both responded. So she proceeded to sit down and join the conversation. While the three were talking, they did not notice the looks that Sim gave them because they were talking to the ancient perverted beast, since they still believed that the change was just a cover. Aika. "Well Rumi, I can know why you are talking to Issei, since he is still seeing rumors that he is still spying on the girls." She said calmly. At this Issei left her cell phone and looked at her out of the corner of his eye, since she thought that Aika only wanted to accompany them, but she saw that it was an interrogation, but when she was about to speak Rumi answered. "Rumi. I know about his old reputation, but I saw that it had changed lately, so I wanted to give him a chance to meet him, since I think he left that side of him aside, and it never bothered me since we all have lust, but he showed it openly." Both were surprised by what she said. But they knew it was true, no one was free from perversion, but Issei was more open to showing it before, that's why they called him a pervert. After that they continued talking until Issei remembers about his song. Issei. "Aika, can I ask you why my song is on a platform?" Aika. "Sorry, I didn't know it would be widely seen, I thought I would just play a few chords, but when I realized I was admiring your song, I kept recording it, I'm sorry." Issei. "Don't worry, it doesn't bother me, but it was a secret, haha." Rumi. "Which song are you both talking about?" Issei. "Didn't you hear it, I made it yesterday, show him Aika-chan." Aika blushed because of the suffix and showed the song to Rumi, who also blushed because of Issei's voice. Which they both noticed the others blush and looked at each other with jealousy, since they both liked the brown, so they both looked at each other challengingly, as if telling each other that the best one would win in conquering her heart. But then they looked at Issei's neck and saw the marks and assumed that they had another rival who was further ahead of them. In the underworld. Aguirre's mansion. Sekvera had arrived at her parents' house, then a servant appears and takes her to the room where they were waiting for her. Sekvera's mother. "Hello daughter, how are you?" Sekvera's father. "Daughter. Greetings seriously." Sekvera. "Mother, father, I'm fine and you?" He responded coldly. The three proceeded to sit down while they spoke. Sekvera's mother. "Daughter, how are you doing in the missions that are assigned to you?" Sekvera. "Well mother, there were some setbacks, but nothing that the group cannot solve." Sekvera's father. "And when you will find a suitor to settle down?" Sekvera. "At the moment I'm not interested in that, father, no suitor is a good match, they are just conceited and arrogant children who seek power." Sekvera's mother. "Daughter, you must find a mate soon, or else people will begin to question your position as a noble demon." Sekvera. "Don't worry, mother, soon you may find the right one," she said stoically, since she was not interested in that unless she was with Issei, but because of the banishment she couldn't say it. What she said left both parents with a serious look, but then the guard called Mr. Aguirre, who left the room and left the mother and daughter talking. Sekvera's mother. "Tell me, daughter, who are you dating?" Stoic said. Sekvera. "What are you talking about mother, I am not in a relationship with anyone." She said she was serious since she did not want to be discovered. Sekvera's mother. "Don't try to fool me, I can tell," he said as he stood up and began to walk around his daughter. "Your body is changing because you are close to a boy, your hips are wider, your bust grew a little more, and your hormones they begin to want to be body and soul with him, remember that I also went through that with your father. You won't be able to hide it from me since I conceived you, so I know when you change for a boy." Sekvera. "Well I am in a relationship with someone, but that is none of his business, he and I love each other and I plan to spend my entire life with him." Sekvera's mother. "I assumed so, that's why we arranged this between your father and me, so that the clan prospers," he said while snapping his fingers, and Sekvera's father, who was listening from the door, entered. Sekvera's father. "We have arranged a political marriage between you and the Pillar Ash. Tomorrow the wedding will take place in the presence of the entire underworld and the other factions," he said seriously. Sekvera was frozen by what was said. She did not want to give herself to someone like him, she wanted to start a family with Issei. Sekvera. They can't do that to me, they said I could marry whoever I wanted without intervention from them or the council. Sekvera's father. I'm sorry, daughter, but we can't allow you to stain the status of the family by dating a simple boy, so we decided to commit you to someone of prestige as the pillar. And to prevent him from running away, you will be in your room until the wedding. He said as he tried to grab her, but before touching her an energy shield repelled him. Sekvera was being surrounded by the shield. When she saw it, she knew that it was Issei's since she had seen him use it during his training. She smiled since she knew that he always took care of her. The mother, seeing how her husband was lying, ordered that she be taken to her room for when the wedding was. When Sekvera gets to her room, she throws herself on her bed and starts crying and begging that Issei will save her. When she feels a hand wipe her tears, she turns to see who it was and is surprised to see her Ice-kun. Sekvera. Issei, what are you doing here? You can't be here because if they find out, they will kill you. She said hysterical that they would hurt him in addition to the wedding. Issei. Don't worry, I couldn't let my beloved be crying, tell me what happened. She said softly. Sekvera. My parents betrothed me to Ash and forced me to marry him, but how did you know I was like this? Issei. I told you, I won't always be there for you, plus I feel in my heart when you are bad or sad, I will be there for you. Sekvera. What will I do now, Issei? I don't want to spend my life with someone like him, I just want to do it with you, be together and start a family. Issei. Okay Sekvera, go to the wedding. He said seriously. Sekvera was devastated by what he said, thinking that he was abandoning her and she was about to burst into tears. Issei also, dress well since you will get a surprise that you will like and others will know that you are already apart. Him, she said smiling while he kissed her. Sekvera came to life when she saw what he wanted to do and proceeded to kiss him happily. Issei. Well, Si-chan, I have to go since I don't want to be seen with you and get into more trouble for me, so tomorrow we'll see you at the wedding and remember to look pretty for your real mate. He said smiling as he faded away. Sekvera. I knew he was the right person. She said as she smiled and proceeded to fall asleep dreaming of Issei and their wedding. After Issei checked Sekvera's condition, he returned to the academy, since because he felt her mood at that moment, he quickly left the room and went to the bathroom to transport himself with her, without caring what the teacher told him. Teacher. What happened young Issei for him to leave so quickly without warning? He said seriously. Issei. Excuse me, teacher, but suddenly I started to feel bad and I couldn't stand it, so I went straight to the bathroom. What was said left some of the girls in the room worried because since he left the perversion and started singing, many began to be interested in him. While others still thought he was just pretending. Teacher. Okay, young man, but next time let me know before leaving, okay, he said calmly since he returned from vacation Issei was more dedicated in his studies, earning the support of some teachers since he changed and left aside that immature aspect. Issei. Okay teacher, plus I feel better now so you can continue with the class. He said earning a nod from the teacher and relieving the girls that he is okay. But that said he proceeded to sit in his place. But Kurama just sneaks out of the backpack and asks him. Kurama. What happened Issei? Issei. Sekvera was betrothed to Ash. Kurama. Was it the council or his parents? Issei. She said that her parents were there, but I think that the council members were the ones who came up with the idea, since they want the pillar to have pure-blooded offspring, those old men are despicable, and her parents are idiots for interfering with her happiness for political power. Kurama. Calm down Issei, we are dealing with normal people, remember. He said trying to calm him down. Also, when will the wedding be? Issei. Tomorrow will be the wedding. Kurama. Too soon. What do you plan to do then, Issei? Issei. It's not obvious. He said smiling. I'm going to stop it and make it clear that she is separated, only I can make her happy. Kurama smiled at what Issei said, since it would finally show the underworld that there are people stronger than them. Kurama. But you won't have problems if they see that you entered despite your banishment. Issei. And who said they would know who it was? Well, he smiled and Kurama also smiled, understanding what he would do. At the end of classes Issei went straight home since he didn't have the academy tomorrow since it was Saturday and he had to prepare some things to prevent Sekvera's wedding. On the way he came talking to Kurama about what they would do, then Issei saw some clothes that would be perfect for what he had planned to do and went to buy them. Now with the clothes he would wear, they went home to review the plan to steal the girlfriend. Issei. Well Kurama, we already have the clothes, I just need to know how to get in without being noticed. Kurama began to laugh at what was said. Issei. What's wrong with you? He asked irritably. Kurama. Why are you worrying about something stupid? He said, stopping laughing. Your mate is about to be engaged to someone he doesn't love and you want to be subtle, plus you worry if you make yourself noticed and make the things very clear. Things will stop bothering her and she will know that she and you should not be messed with, so she can continue being in the underworld and do her things without being bothered or harassed for this. Issei was thoughtful about what Kurama said, but he saw that it was true. If he just went and took her away, then she couldn't be calm, since they would call her a traitor or deserter, and they would hunt her down. Issei. You're right, Kurama, but how do I let them know that without them knowing who I am? Kurama. Are you stupid or what? He said, angering Issei. You have covered the appearance with these clothes, with the voice you only have to change it with the help of the chakra just like your essence, so they don't notice that it's you, but with your eyes they don't. I would know what to do, maybe with contact lenses or something. He said thoughtfully. They both thought about what to do with their eyes until Issei remembered something during their training. Issei. What if I use those eyes that I got during our training? Kurama. But you barely know how to use them. Besides the burden it leaves on your eyes at the moment, you still don't get used to using them. He said worried. Issei. I know, but I would only use it for appearance. As long as I don't launch any attacks with them there won't be any problem, and it will also give me the advantage of seeing their movement slowly. Kurama nodded at this, and they both proceeded to plan their epic entrance to the wedding. The next morning. Underworld Gremory Castle. In a room, Sequeira was dressed as a bride in front of a mirror, thinking about what her mate had in mind to stop the event when someone spoke. Riaz. I see that you are thoughtful, Sequeira. You must be thinking about how you will spend this night with Ash-kun. I'm just telling you something. I am his first wife, therefore the leader of his harem, so I want to make your position as a concubine clear to you, even though you're about to marry him, he said arrogantly. Sona. Although I don't like the idea of Riaz being the head of the harem, she's right, you're just another concubine, despite formally marrying our mate, but since we will be sisters in this, I'm willing to let you join this great family. She said. Serious but with a touch of arrogance. Leisha was behind the two of them, although she didn't like the idea of her friend being with Ash and suffering, she couldn't do anything for her, since soon she might suffer the same thing. Sequeira turned the two of them around and smiled, leaving them dumbfounded that the person known to be the most serious smiled. Leisha saw that smile and saw that it was not because of her wedding, but she did not know the reason for this at this moment. Sequeira. Today will be a big day for me. He said, thinking about her loved one and the surprise he would have for her and everyone present at the wedding. Riaz and Sona thought that he was smiling because he could be with their mate and because he understood his position before them, so they proceeded to leave the room, leaving Sequeira and Leisha alone. Leisha. That smile is for something else, right? She knew her friend well and knew that that smile was not for her wedding. Sequeira. You will soon know, and when it happens come to this address and you will know everything. He said as he handed him a paper with an address in the human world and returned to his stoic face. Leisha nodded with doubts about what her friend told her, but she put it aside until it happens, since she knew she wouldn't say anything else. In the room were all the heads of the underworld clans, several leaders of factions such as the Olympian, Hindu, Egyptian, Fallen, Yokai, Angels, Asgardians, Dragonica and Vampire, as well as Sequeira's parents and Ash's girls including the Haidu, waiting for the beginning of the wedding. Surziches. Welcome today, friends and colleagues, to this wonderful day. Today we will unite two people in marriage. Today we will unite our pillar and best warrior with a high-class devil, so that our race prospers. At that point the door will have shown Ash entering dressed in gala clothes with an arrogant smile, and behind him comes Sequeira with a serious face escorted by his mother. When they both arrived, Michael proceeded to start the ceremony. Michael. Today, on this day, we unite two souls in marriage under the watchful eye of the witnesses here present, with the right that was granted to me by the Father of all, so I will proceed to make the vows of both of you. Do Ash swear to love her, respect her and be with them through thick and thin until death do them part? Ash. I accept. He said while smiling lustfully at Sequeira. Michael. And you, Sequeira, swear to be faithful to him, to love him and to be with him until death do you part? Sequeira, even though she wanted to say she didn't have to accept it since she knew it wouldn't happen and that Issei would stop the wedding. Sequeira. I accepted. Michael. Under the power that was granted to this couple in holy matrimony, if anyone present is against these vows, let them speak now or forever hold their peace. Everyone was silent. When Michael was about to close the votes, a fox appeared on Sequeira's shoulder. Well, he looked at everyone neutrally. When they were about to get up to catch him, his tail divided into 9, surprising everyone, but even more so two fox yakes that they saw it, since there was no one besides them who had so many lines. Kurama. Hello. The fox greet everyone and then look at Sequeira. How are you doing, Sequeira? Sequeira. Hello, Kurama, where is he? He said in a whisper. Kurama. He will appear soon, so don't worry. Sequeira nodded while everyone was surprised that he knows the creature. Michael. Do you want to get in the way of this marriage? He said seriously. Kurama. Me. No. He said while everyone calmed down. But I think he wants to give his opinion. He said while he pointed to the door. When everyone was going to ask who he was pointing to, they began to hear the guards trying to prevent someone from entering. Guard. Stop right now, you can't enter this place, ah. He said, and then the screams of the other guards and their attacks will begin to be heard. At this, those who were nearby began to retreat when suddenly the door was shot out, causing everyone to crouch down. When the dust disappeared, everyone saw a guy who was standing still, staring at them, but no one knew who he was since he was wearing a hood. Some guards were about to go to stop him, but when they were close, they fell unconscious to everyone's surprise. The subject began to walk down the altar like this when someone got in his way. Shiva. Who are you and what are you doing here? He said seriously. Everyone saw that the god of destruction was before the being and thought he would say something, but they saw that he didn't say anything. Shiva, angry that he didn't answer him, spoke again. Shiva. I asked you who you are since you came. He said while releasing his power. Everyone saw that the stranger was unfazed by the power and pressure that Shiva exerted, but when Shiva was going to speak, the stranger spoke. Get out of the way and I won't hurt you. He said with a voice that made those present's blood run cold before the imposing voice of the being. I don't want to leave you badly hurt, so I ask you to let me pass. Shiva at what was said began to laugh, attracting everyone's attention. Shiva. You hurt me, don't make me laugh, you're just a simple human. What he said surprised everyone, who verified that it was true and began to laugh at the being. Shiva. What a good joke, boy, but it showed who you are. He said while trying to take him by the shoulders. Everyone saw this when suddenly the atmosphere became tense and they looked at the person who was exerting this pressure and saw that it was coming from the person who interrupted the ceremony. I told you to move away. He said seriously while touching Shiva's chest with the palm of his hand. Everyone was surprised by what he was doing, but Shiva was about to attack him for daring to touch him, but when he was going to do so, the stranger said something. At lost. When he said that, everyone saw how Shiva flew out the front, destroying the altar. Everyone was scared by this. The person who arrived had easily blown up Shiva the Destroyer, the fourth most powerful being in the world. Everyone saw how stranger began to walk towards the altar. When the leaders were about to intervene, they saw how Shiva came out of the rubble angrily. Shiva. How did you scum attack me? He said as he went to attack him. Everyone saw this, thinking that even though he sent Shiva flying, he couldn't beat him when he attacked him, but everyone saw how he only deflected his attack with one hand and hit him with his backhand, as if he were trying to scare away a fly. When he hit him, they heard some rubble falling, and they looked at the wall and saw Shiva bleeding and unconscious embedded in the wall. Everyone was scared because they saw that with a simple blow he left Shiva in that state. The subject approached the altar and said more seriously before everyone's gaze. I am opposed, I will not let my mate marry someone who is not worth it. What he said left everyone serious, since he said that his pillar was nothing, that Sakvara was his mate. Upon hearing this, Ash became enraged and went to attack the being. The leaders, seeing that their pillar went to the attack, wanted to go and help him, but when they were going to go, they all fell to the ground as the stranger released a killer instinct so strong that it made everyone kneeling before him, while with their hands, they tried not to fall completely to the ground. The being spoke with a strong voice, scaring most of them. Stay still if you want to continue living. He said with a voice so cold that it made everyone start to sweat. You. He said while pointing at Ash, who was trying to stand up to attack him for trying to take away his new sex toy. You'd better to stay still there if you want to keep breathing. Everyone raised their heads and looked directly at the being, but they saw something that left them even more scared. The being's eyes were red and had a strange design, but when they all saw his eyes, they saw how his features were on fire, and there were bodies scattered with people of these scattered around, while he was sitting on top of a mountain made of the bodies of his leaders. Ran Roha and Office while he looked at them with a look that seemed to see their soul. That's what will happen if they get in my way. When he said that, he released everyone from their pressure and went straight to Sakvara. When he arrived, she jumped right at him while holding onto his neck, and before everyone's eyes, she kissed him without his hood falling off. Sakvara. I knew you would come for me, I knew you wouldn't leave me alone. She said while smiling, and small tears of happiness fell from his eyes. You would always come for you, dear. I would go to the ends of the world to see your smile, and I would fight everyone if they wanted to hurt you or take you away from my side. He said softly. Given what he said, Sakvara kissed him again, but then the being dodged an attack while holding Sakvara. Ash. Who do you think you are to threaten me and take my wife away from me? He said, angry that the being had humiliated him under everyone's gaze. But then he saw a devil recording everything lived to all the factions and their people. At this he smiled arrogantly and said. You think you're a big deal with your tricks and illusions, but you're probably not a big deal. You only hide behind those tricks to make yourself look stronger. You're just a braggart, so leave before I kill you myself and take you back. My wife. Everyone upon listening to their pillar thought that he saw the tricks that the stranger used to make himself look imposing, and they believed that he was pretending to make them leave him, but they forgot how he left Shiva, and they did not know that his strength was true. "You're just trash in face of me, you think I use tricks," he said while leaving Sakvara on the ground and motioning for him to go next to Kurama. "Then come and show it if you have enough strength to do it," he said while looking at him with his eyes, making everyone start to doubt if it was a good idea for their pillar to do it. "But let's make it more interesting. If you can make me kneel, then they can make me whatever you want, but if I win I will ask for something in exchange. But I hope your great and powerful pillar fights alone without the help of others, or are you afraid of losing to a human?" he said sarcastically, making Ash get angry. "Ash, you think I need help to get you to bow down before me? Listen, I don't want anyone to get in the way while I kill this guy. If he wins no one will do anything, understood?" All the leaders nodded at what was said. When Ash saw this, he shot out while summoning his armor, but everyone saw how the guy dodged his attacks. When Ash was going to speak, the guy grabbed him by the arm and started to smash him on the floor, then grabbed him and slammed him against the wall, while dragging him in it while holding his face. Then she lets him go and kicks him in the back, raising him up. Before he falls, he hits him with an uppercut and crashes him on the ceiling. While he fell, he jumps, and with a downward axe kick, he buries him on the ground under everyone's gaze, while his women worry about the state of their husband. "That's all your power, what a waste of time you are. I thought you would give me more fight, but you are just a conceived man who needs everyone's help to be able to get what you want," he said as he left with his fiancée and friend. He proceeded to take her in a nuptial manner while kissing her again, after which he looked in the direction of the leaders and threatened them. "Listen to me well, because I will only warn you once. My fiancée will continue to do her duties in the underworld, so I don't want you to bother her or make her have more duties than she usually has, or recommit her, or I will come and the vision that they had would be nothing compared to what I will do to them. You are warned, so I hope you choose wisely what you will do, since the future of your factions will depend on it. You are warned," he said as he turned around and headed towards the door like that, but in that stops and he looks at his in-laws and says to them, "And you, if you try to do something to my wife, I will teach you what I am capable of. Just because you are your parents, it won't be an obstruction for eliminating them if they interpose. Understand?" he said, shouting the last thing, causing Sakvara's parents to get scared and nod quickly. After that he proceeded to leave with his fiancée, but then everyone sees Kurama jumping over the dessert tables and grabbing the largest amount of desserts from there with his tails and leaving after that with Sakvara and his friend. And under the watchful eye of everyone, the being says a word, disappearing into a vortex. "Kamui." Everyone was silent, even the viewers were surprised. A stranger appeared claiming to be a mate of the Arasagers, and not only that, but he demonstrated great power, in addition to leaving the fourth strongest person in the world unconscious with just the back of his hand. In addition to the pillar, which he massacred without any mercy, but what left them most surprised and terrified was that he threatened to destroy the factions if they dared to touch the Gurlagers. That left everyone wondering where the heiress knew him from and if she would seek revenge for what they did to her by insulting her by telling her the Asmar of the underworld. But then everyone hears a heartbreaking scream and directs their gaze to where it came from, seeing the Archangel Gabriel crying while tending to Ash. Gabriel. His bones are destroyed, his organs are damaged, his ribs are shattered, and his muscles are torn apart from his broken spine, he said, leaving all his mates and people in shock at how he left the pillar. Demonic Doctor. Shiva-sama has broken arms, several fractured ribs and a destroyed jaw, he said, leaving everyone scared of that guy's power. Everyone was thinking what they would do about this, but one of Ash's mates spoke up. "Valerie. It's obvious what to do, we have to find this guy and kill him for what he did to our mate," he said, winning a settlement from all of Ash's women. "Riaz. It's true, we have to make him pay for this." When they were going to reproach the leaders about what they should do, they saw that they were doubting what to do, since the stranger showed that he was not joking with what he said. But they wanted revenge, and when they were about to go look for him, the goddess of dreams, the big red one, spoke, stopping them. "Scarlet. You won't do anything against him," he said, leaving everyone surprised. "Serafal. But Scarlet-sama, look how she left our mate." "Scarlet. I already said no, they think they can beat that guy who left him like that, and Shiva, the fourth strongest person, who even I would find it very difficult to beat easily without the help of Office. Think about it, you would be nothing before him, you would only get him to come and destroy us. He is not a guy that you could defeat without having many losses, plus he wasn't even serious, he was just playing with the two of them. If he had wanted to, we would be right now all dead." What she said left everyone silent since it was true, but Ash's mates were shaking with rage for not being able to do anything. "Scarlet. I know you want revenge, remember that Ash is also my mate in Offices, but not even the two of us together could handle him, and you would be nothing more than simple toys for him," she said while clenching her hands in anger. "Office. It is true what the Red One says, he is not an opponent that we can take lightly, and for the moment he only warned us not to mess with her, and the bear would take matters into his own hands, so the most sensible thing would be to listen to him. Now until we know more about its power. When he said that, everyone nodded and retired to their homes, while Ash's fiancés took him to the hospital, since the Phoenix Tears were not able to heal him completely. Human world. Issei Sequeira, residence. The whirlwind appeared in the room from which Issei, Sequeira and Kurama emerged. When they finished appearing, Kurama went to the kitchen to store the loot she brought in addition to leaving the other two to do their things. Sequeira. Thank you darling for saving me, and I kept your word. She said, and then gave him a kiss that showed her love for him. Issei. You should know, C-chan, I wouldn't let my darling be unhappy with someone who doesn't deserve her, and only I can be in front of you dressed as a groom. He said while reciprocating the kiss. Sequeira. And you will do it, but not with this dress, but with a better one. Besides, I will always be yours, and you will be mine, so I will not let anyone touch me if it is not you. She said while kissing him again and then separating and getting off of him to go to the room. Well, dear, will I change? Why don't you prepare something for both of us to eat? He said as he went up to the room to change while sensually shaking his hips to provoke the brunette. Issei. So you're being provocative, you'll see later when I show you the consequences. He said while following the movement of Sequeira's hips as he went up. Well, I better order something to eat since it's very late. The while after Issei asked for the food and Kurama left a space for it in his stomach, they were both waiting for said food while watching a series of heroes on television until they see how Sequeira comes down, already changed, and goes to sit next to Issei. Sequeira. And dear, let's go to dinner. She said as she wrapped her arms around his neck and sat on her legs, subtly moving her hips. Isipov. Well, that's how you want to play, you'll see later, but I have to stop her since the order will come soon. She thought as she tried not to give in to the stimulus. When Issei was about to speak so that Sequeira would stop provoking him for now, Kurama went ahead of him and said. Kurama. Do your dirty tricks later in your room, we are waiting for food, so you can put up with a couple of horny people, besides being in the living room and me being in it. 1. Sequeira blushed with embarrassment, but before standing up Issei whispers to her. Issei. You're not sleeping tonight, my dear bunny, so you better get ready for what's coming since I'll show you what you get by playing like this. He whispered to her while he nibbled her neck a little and left her next to him. After this, Issei stood up and went to look for the glasses and cutlery. Just as he returned, he heard the bell ring and went to see if it was the delivery man. With the food on the table, they proceeded to eat while watching a movie. At the end of dinner, Kurama reluctantly brought his loot from the party to eat for dessert. After they were completely satisfied, they proceeded to watch a movie marathon while they were covered by a blanket, and Kurama was on a single couch still eating while he watched the movie. But he didn't know that Issei and Sequeira were not paying attention to the movie, but rather they were playing under the blanket surreptitiously. They gave each other cuddles, caresses, the occasional kiss and bite, and why not the occasional naughty hand on Sequeira's part, which went from her abdomen to her crotch and proceeded to massage it, but Issei was not far behind. He proceeded to do the same, in addition to playing a little with her breasts, and why not put one or two fingers inside his mate, managing to obtain one or another. She gasped as she covered her mouth so that the QB wouldn't discover them. So they both proceeded to go up to the room because both Issei and Sequeira couldn't take it anymore. As they went up the stairs, they both gave each other passionate kisses and one or another bite. When they were on the second floor, Issei proceeds to carry Sequeira to the room while kicking the door and leaving Sequeira on the bed. Continuing the caresses and kissing until Issei begins to take off her bra while he continued watching her, but before completely removing her bra, he asks her permission. Time skip. Issei, now recovered a little, lifts her up and takes her to the bed while he arranges her and wraps himself up next to her, remaining in an embrace. At that, Sequeira gets up and kisses him as she told him. Sequeira. Thank you for being there for me, for saving me from having to give myself to a disgusting guy like Ash, for accepting me and showing me that even someone like me can be loved. She said it with a few tears of happiness for having given herself body and soul to the person she loves. Issei. I already told you, Sequeira, I would go to the ends of the world to be on your side, but now that we are one and possibly we can be more, since I believe that now you possibly have the fruit of our love inside you, since I believe that I was a little far with everything I came in you, he said as he giggled and brought her closer to him. Sequeira. Yes, honey, I think you went a little too far, and I think that tomorrow I don't think I'll be able to go out anywhere like that, but don't be fooled, I really liked being able to give you my first time, and I think I like that way of being fierce even more, so don't worry, but don't you think you're exaggerating a bit with the idea that I can get pregnant? Remember that we demons have a low probability of getting pregnant, plus you're no longer a dragon, so that makes it less likely, but it would be nice to form a family, although it would be a bit hasty for our age. She said the first thing flirtatious and the last sad. Issei. Si-chan, you forget that I have the chakra that revitalizes my essence. Thanks to that it is possible that you have a greater chance of getting pregnant, although it would be less likely than dragons, but it is higher than any other possibility, he said while kissing her on the forehead. Sekvara. But what does your power have to do with that? Also, how is it that you are more likely to get pregnant by using chakra if it is just a power, she said confused. Issei. Since you think that yakeis are very fertile, that is due to the purification that the chakra exerts on the body, cleaning and increasing their bone vitality, making them longer lived, which means that they are mostly more fertile, and according to Kurama, mine is still purer than theirs, so I have a greater chance of getting you pregnant. He said it, leaving Sekvara happy with the news of being able to get pregnant. There is also the fact that Kurama in a certain way was able to unite his essence with mine, remaining as companions. Bonded by the soul, which caused my fertility rate to increase, which is why I was a little wild with you when we did it. Sekvara was very surprised by what the brunette said, because her partner apparently joined with her friend forming a bond, but she could not feel any essence in him. He was still human, he had no trace of a change as it was with that dragon that before. She was his companion. Sekvara. But how is that, if I don't feel any change in your essence, you are still 100% human, and when they joined together, they never showed signs of being united, she said confused. Issei. Hahaha, don't panic, it happened during one of the training sessions with him on the trip I had. We did it as a way to keep my power hidden and controlled, since it was too much for me at that time. At first I hesitated because of what happened to me with my previous tenant. But after a while I accepted. The change told me that it would not be very noticeable besides not changing my race, but that it would be more like a reinforcement for my body to contain. But later there may be one that another noticeable change like my sexual desire, which you already verified in the flesh. He, also according to him, there is a tiny possibility of having a bestial form, but it is very unlikely since according to him it is an ancient myth of his species. He said while caressing to Sekvara. Sekvara. Well then, let's hope to be parents in the future. It would be great to be a family. She said, smiling at Issei. But I want at least 6 children, Issei, so I hope it's ready since I won't let you rest until you give it to me, honey. He said while smiling happily. At what she said, Issei paled at the amount, but the next thing left him even more afraid of his future and his crotch, since he knew that she was always sincere with her desires, and he knew that she would do it. Sekvara. And those would be mine. You still lack those of the other women you will have, so I hope you treat them equally or else you will know why they call me the Iron Lady. She said, giving a tender smile that scared Issei because of the presence that she exerted on her. Even Kurama, who was downstairs in the room, felt her scaring him and praying that her companion and source of food would be okay in the face of such a beast. Issei. Yes, dear, I will treat both my children and you, my partners, equally, he said, sweating because of how dangerous Sekvara can be regarding this issue. Sekvara. I hope so, darling. Ah. She yawned. Well, I think we should sleep since we spent too much energy today and tomorrow we have to plan some things, so good night, dear. She said, giving him a kiss and snuggling closer to him. Issei. Good night, darling. He said while he reciprocated the kiss and hugged her more, holding her closer. In her mind. I will protect her no matter what, even if I have to face the factions. I will not let them harm her, and if they try they will know all my fury and resentment. I will take care of her and all those who fall in love with me and see that it is true. I swear on my life. He thought seriously, not knowing that his hair tightened and some fangs came out, which quickly disappeared again when he closed his eyes. 1. In the house room of Issei and Sekvara. Kurama was trying to forget the feeling of the pressure that Sekvara exerted, in addition to the screams he gave even a little because of what they did. Kurama. Wow, those two had a lot of fun, hahaha. I guess the bonus of my union with him was very good for him, as well as making her like him. He said with a foxy smile. Well, let's see what we see now on television. Let's see. Let's see what's going on. Your Night of Terror marathon seems interesting. He said, leaving it there, starting to see it. The next morning. Issei got up as the sun's rays were shining on his face. He stretched a little, yawned, rubbed his eyes and went to the window to see what day they had. It was sunny, the birds were whistling, and there was a warm breeze typical of the summer. After contemplating the morning, he went to the bathroom to wash his face and teeth, then went down to the kitchen. But as he passed through the room he saw Kurama, who apparently had a nightmare, so wanting to play a little joke on him, he addressed him like that. Kurama was shaking as he was having a nightmare. Issei crept up and shook him, at which Kurama gave a scream and jumped onto the ceiling holding on with his claws. Kurama trembled at Issei's shock. When he calmed down under the roof and saw with hatred Issei, who was laughing on the floor, so he jumped on top of him, starting to bite and scratch him. After a while fighting and getting ready, they both made peace and went to do their things. Kurama goes to the table to wait for his breakfast, while Issei goes to prepare it with his and Sekvara's. Kurama. Yeah, how was your night, buddy? I see that both of you were busy up there haha, he said chuckling. Issei just got embarrassed and asked. Issei. How much did you listen to? He asked, blushing. Kurama. Just a little bit of the shouting, moaning and hitting the wall. They forgot to put a sound barrier. God, maybe they were fucking like rabbits and not the weak ones, but those who are strong because of that intensity haha. You should thank me for putting it, the barrier preventing the entire neighborhood from hearing them, he said. Laughing while Issei was very embarrassed for forgetting such a detail. Issei. Thanks for that, friend, I had missed that detail. Kurama. Don't worry, but speaking of that, did you explain to him about your increased fertility and our union, he said seriously. Issei. Yes, I explained every detail to him and he accepted it very well. It's more that I think he liked the idea of having children in the future, but I still feel uncomfortable about the bestialization. Even though it is a legend of your species, it still raises some doubts in me. He said in a worried tone. Kurama. You don't have to worry, those stories should have been just stories to scare the youngest of my race, so they wouldn't form foolish packs. Issei. If that must be it, well here I'll leave your toast, I'll retire to see C-chan with his breakfast. He said as he proceeded to go to the room. Kurama just nodded and started eating his breakfast. Upon reaching the room he enters silently, places the tray with breakfast on the nightstand and goes to wake up his beautiful lady. Issei. Upstairs, dear, it's morning, and I brought you breakfast, too, he said affectionately. Sekvara. I know what time it is, she said sleepily. Issei. It's already 8:30, here I brought you breakfast. He said while giving her the tray and kissing her on the forehead. Then they both proceeded to have breakfast. A while after finishing breakfast they both decided to take a shower to get rid of the smell that remained from their passionate night, but when they were about to get up, Sekvara spoke. Sekvara. Honey, can you take me to the tub since I can barely move my hips and my privacy hurts a little? She said a little blushing, earning a gesture of embarrassment from the brunette for her slightly wild way of showing her affection last night. Without further ado, Issei proceeded to take her to the shower and help her bathe a little, but that didn't mean that there were some affection and kisses, as well as a few crazy little hands from both of them. After that Issei helps her get dressed as well as helping her a little with her pain, thanks to an ointment for intimate pain that she had bought before. They both proceed to go to the living room to watch television since despite having one in the room, they did not want to spend much time lying down, so they went to the living room, where Kurama greeted them with a smile from ear to ear. Kurama. Wow, I see that you enjoyed it well last night. No, friend, I see that you don't waste your time, he said while making Sekvara blush with embarrassment. After Sekvara hit him as if he were a bag of stuffed animals, the three proceeded to watch television. Later around 12 o'clock, they were about to prepare dinner when a magic circle appears and comes out of it. Both Issei and Kurama were excited, but when they were about to get up, Sekvara stood up and told them. Sekvara. Don't worry guys, it's someone I had invited and you already know her. She said as she approached the magic circle from which a person they knew well came out. Hello, how are you? I see that in the end you did come to where I told you. She spoke while having a smile that was not characteristic of her. Leisha. Sekvara, how could I not come if you were the center of attention yesterday with the appearance of your partner saving you and beating up Shiva and the pillar of the factions, and you are my friend, how could I not come to see you after all? He said while hugging her. Sekvara. Hahaha, you're right, I beat you, but leaving that aside, I'm glad to see that you came since I wanted to tell you everything while being calmer here in my house with my partner. She said happily, going to the sofa next to Issei. Issei. Hello, it was beating, how are you? He said while giving her a warm smile. Leisha. But what are you doing here, Issei, do you know Sekvara's partner? Also, because you're dressed like this, it seems like you live here. She said, surprised to see the brunette sitting as if it were his home. Issei. I live here Leisha, this is my house. He said while laughing at Leisha's face. Leisha. What? I screamed in shock. Sekvara. Stop yelling, it beats you to wake up the neighbors, and what if this house is both mine and Issei's since we are together as a couple? She said seriously at her friend's scream. Leisha. Wait, like they are together if you already have a partner, plus he is someone powerful who was able to leave the second strongest person, as if he were a fly squashed on the wall. You know that if he finds out that you are cheating is possible to destroy everything because of that, and to be able to seek out and hurt Issei, just because you can't be faithful to your partner. Sekvara. What are you talking about Leisha? I am only faithful to my partner, and I am not capable of cheating on him with anyone. She said, standing up and hugging Issei. Leisha. I'm not going to allow you to hurt Issei just because you want to. I'm not going to let you wait for him to discover you with Issei and then play innocent, so come with me Issei, let's go find another house so you can live safely. She said as he pulled Sekvara away from Issei and towards the door. Issei. It was beating calmly, I think you're not understanding what's happening. he said laughing. Leisha. Don't worry Issei, this is so that you are not in danger right now, you are very weak and Sekvera's partner is very powerful, so we have to take you to a safe place. Don't worry about the money, because I will help you buy one new house for you to live in. We can also live together as friends and if we want we can be something more in the future after we get to know each other more deeply and maybe start a family. She said, blushing a little at the thought of being with him and having children. Together. Sekvera. What do you think you are doing with my Issei? She said while pushing her and kissing Issei, showing her love for the brunette. Leisha. Ouch. What are you doing kissing him Sekvera? You already have a fiancé and you swore to be faithful to him, you are only putting Issei in danger. He said as he separated Sekvera from Issei's lips and faced her. Sekvera. Issei is my fiancé, I beat him, that's why I kiss him. I'm also faithful because I never kissed anyone but him. She said angrily as she saw her friend wanting to take her partner away from her. Leisha. Stop telling lies. If in the middle of the ceremony you kissed that guy, well he claimed to be your fiancé. You are not only deceiving him, but also Issei by making him think that you love him, she said, annoyed by what she saw her doing. They both looked at each other in a challenging way, wanting to grab each other's chest. Both were about to attack when Issei, so that nothing would happen, stood between them and said. Issei. Calm down girls, calm down, Si-chan, you should explain things better to him because I think he is overlooking something. He said, nervous that they would both kill each other. Sekvera. It's okay Ice-kun, I think I got carried away a little, I should clarify things for you before we get out of hand, he said, reflecting on his behavior. Leisha. What is happening, then could you explain to me well what is happening? She said confused. Issei. Well beat, listen to what I'll tell you, I was the one who intervened in Sekvera and Ash's wedding, I'm the strange guy who appeared and said all that. He said calmly. Sekvera. As Ice-kun said, he was the one who freed me from that commitment and who saved me from being just another toy of that scum that they have as a pillar. She said calmly and going to Issei's side. But as if that guy was powerful, well you are just an ordinary person with a little power, no offense, Ice also had those strange eyes that turned crimson red. Issei. Yes, let me show you something. He said as he walked away and invoked a circle that began to rise, changing his outfit to that of the previous day where he interrupted the ceremony and made it clear who Sekvera belonged to. Choked by what she saw, she was speechless but came out of shock to say. But in the eyes, how did you make them make your voice deeper? He said, questioning what he saw. Issei. With my voice I used a little of my power that I obtained thanks to my partner Kurama that you met when we met each other in the forest, say hello friend. Kurama. Hello, it was beating like you're doing, I see that your feelings for my partner came out when you saw him with Sekvera, haha, he said laughing at the scene he saw, it seemed like a soap opera to him. Joked at what was said, she blushed at her little scene that she made out of her jealousy of seeing Issei kissing Sekvera. Leisha. Haha, sorry if it bothered you, but I was afraid for Issei's safety. She said embarrassed. But I'm doing well at least, but now I don't know whether to feel relieved by the fact that my friend is fine or upset that she is happy with Issei. She said indignant about the situation. But leaving that aside as you did with your eyes to make them like that Issei. She said addressing the brunette. Issei. With my eyes it was different, I don't know how I got them, it happened during a training I had with Kurama, so I don't know anything about them, it's just that they can see things in slow motion and put people in a kind of illusion, in addition to generating a vortex with which I can transport myself to a location that I have been before, but I don't know if I have more abilities. Those are the ones I know at the moment, but I can only use them for a short time, since they demand too much from my eyes, so I only use them in cases. He said seriously about his abilities. I must train my eyes and skills more to extend the time of use they have, since in a long fight they can be my best weapon. He thought while he was beating he was thinking about what was said about his eyes. Leisha. Wow, those are some incredible abilities, it's a shame they have a limited time, but you said before that this power was thanks to Kurama, how is that? Given what she said, Issei proceeds to explain the same thing he explained to Sekvera before when he returned from the trip. After that talk Sekvera sent Issei to set the table for dinner, when he left Sekvera sat down and put on his serious look again. Sekvera. Leisha, please sit down, I have a couple of things to tell you about my relationship with Issei. He said, pointing to the sofa in front. Choked at his tone, she proceeded to sit down, since she wanted to know how her courtship with the brunette was. Sekvera. Well, as you already realized from the scene at the wedding and today, both Issei and I are together as a couple with plans for a future commitment, in addition to having a home and being financially well. She said while giving him a mocking smile about his relationship with the brunette, which made Leisha upset because of that. And from what I see, you have feelings for him, so I have a proposal for you. I knew in advance that he was no longer part dragon, even so. He would have many suitors after him, whether or not they are from the supernatural world, especially now that thanks to a small oversight on his part, he began to become famous for a music video that he dedicated to me, and they recorded it without him realizing it, but for the moment that is not important. So I wanted to ask you if you would agree to be part of his little harem for the moment, since it will only be the two of us for now, so what do you think? Leisha. The answer is obvious. Sekvera agreed to be with Issei, even though she has to share him with you for the moment, but I want to make something clear to you, even though you are the first to be with him, therefore you are the leader of the harem, I will be the first to have his first time in bed, so I hope you don't get in the way since you are the leader and the first to be with him. She said decisively and seriously, wanting to make it clear what she would do with the brunette, no matter what Sekvera says or does. Sekvera. Hahaha, good luck with that since I was beating ahead of you with that. He said, giving him a mocking smile. Leisha. What do you mean by that, explain. She said seriously, feeling that she wouldn't like what she would say. Sekvera. Just yesterday after he rescued me we came here after we ate we went to the room, and there we gave ourselves body and soul, we joined our bodies, at that moment I became one with Issei, and we sealed our love with our bodies we became one, and I'm telling you it was the best in the world, he was very passionate when he did it to me and kissed me. He showed me the pleasure of being a woman, and right at that moment we swore to be faithful until the day we died. It was the best that I could have felt. I'm glad I gave him my first time and he gave him his, that's why I say good luck trying to have his first time since I beat you and it all happened yesterday, you arrived late to claim it, and as proof you can feel its essence in me. He said haughtily while smiling lustfully. She was shocked when she heard that, so she checked if it was true, and when she saw that the essence of Issei was in her world was frozen, and when she came to her senses. Leisha. Damn unfortunate, how could you do it with him knowing that there would be more interested in being with him, it doesn't matter that you were the matriarch, you had to wait for him to decide with the future women who come. She said annoyed, but at that point she calmed down a little and I breathed. Well, I suppose that given what happened that day it was obvious what they would do, so for now I will leave that aside, but I assure you that I will be the first to have their children. Sekvera. She said, giving him a challenging look. Sekvera. Hahaha, well let's see who of the two gives Issei children first. She said while clashing foreheads with Leisha looking at each other challengingly. After that talk they went to the kitchen where Issei was and proceeded to have dinner. When they finished they told what they said to Issei. Sekvera. Honey, I have to tell you something, Lataya, as you saw, has feelings like that, so I talked to her and decided to integrate her into your harem. She already went through my interrogation, but we wanted to know what you thought about this. Issei. Well, it's true that I liked a little that I was able to talk to her, but I don't know if I can make them both happy. If she wants to give me a chance, then I want to reciprocate those feelings, so I hope you allow me to make you happy, even though I'm not the one. I only swear to protect you above all and love you the same way I love Sekvera, he said as he approached Leisha and kissed her, which was reciprocated. Leisha. Then I can come live here with you to be as a couple? She asked a little blushing. Issei. Obviously Leisha, my house is your house too. At this, she began to kiss him, but before their kiss could last any longer, Sekvera separated them. Sekvera. I'm glad that you were accepted by Issei, Leisha, but remember that tomorrow we have to go to the underworld, since they wanted to know about the person who intervened in the act, so I guess they will have a meeting for that, so we have to rest for it. He said as he took Issei into his arms, which was echoed by Leisha. Issei. He's right about that, that's why we should go rest, there are more rooms upstairs, so you can choose one of them to be your room, Leisha. Given what the brunette said, everyone proceeded to go to sleep, although there was one or another problem due to the fact that Sekvera was going to sleep with Issei, but it was solved with a date the next weekend for both of them. The next pack, Issei woke up early since it was Monday, and he had to go to the academy, so he went to the bathroom to take a shower and get ready. After getting dressed he went to the kitchen and prepared his breakfast with the girls. When he finished making them, he looked at what time it was and saw that he was getting late. So he left a note about the girls' breakfast, as well as a gift for both of them with a small detail, and ran off to the academy. When he arrived he noticed that the presence of Riaz and the others was missing, and he remembered that Leisha had said that today they had a meeting about the Saturday she spent with Sekvera, so he sighed with relief for not having to see them. When he entered he went to his seat and he threw his backpack on his seat, but then he heard a moan coming from her, so he went over to see what it was and saw Kurama, who was rubbing his head from the blow. Kurama. What's wrong with you is that you're pulling me like that? He said, growling annoyed. Issei. Sorry, I didn't know you were there so I just threw it on my seat, and when you got in there, I did run out today, and I don't remember picking you up, much less seeing you get into my backpack. He said, embarrassed and the last bit confused. Kurama. So I remember that last night they were arguing when they went to sleep about the fact that Sakvara slept with you, so I went and laid down on your backpack that was on the couch, so I guess I moved a lot last night, and by accident, I got inside of that, must be why I'm here, plus I don't have any breakfast, so I can eat your lunch," she said, looking at him in a chibi way. Issei. "Don't even think about it, because I'm leaving you locked up for a week without eating in the house." At what he said, he made Kurama grumble. "Also, after this class. It's the kitchen class, so whatever I prepare I can treat you to, so don't touch my lunch, you understood?" he said seriously. "Kurama. I understand, but you better feed me, I'll be worse than a hungry baby," he said while pointing at him, and then he turned over and went to sleep so as not to feel hungry. Issei. "Ha, it will be a long day." He sighs and then carefully puts his backpack aside and sits down to start classes. Later he was going to the cooking class since the previous one had already ended. While he walked around the room. When he arrived, he went to the back counter and left his backpack with Kurama under the counter so they wouldn't see him. When he was about to speak, the teacher arrived and told them. "Cooking teacher. Well boy, in this class we will do a little baking. Under your counters in the drawer there is a dessert manual, so I want you to grab it and choose one to prepare at the end of the classes. I will try them to see how they turn out." "Okay," he said, receiving an assent from everyone. "Well, please start." Issei. "Well, let's see what we have to prepare," he said, reviewing the book. At that, Kurama gets out of the backpack and climbs up his leg and into his jacket, where he pokes his head out of the collar and sees the recipes. Kurama. Hey, that one, Issei," he said, pointing to a cake that Issei was just looking at. Issei. "Strawberry cake with chocolate, are you sure?" he said, looking at the recipe. Kurama. "If it looks delicious, you can also make one for the girls, you think?" he responded while drooling. Issei. "Good idea, but can you stop drooling on my jacket?" he said happily but a little disgusted. Kurama. "Sorry, well, get ready then while I wait." Issei began to organize the ingredients and utensils to prepare the dessert. A while later, Issei would have made 2 cakes. During the preparation, Issei was very concentrated, in addition to having a warm look, which made several classmates think that he looked very cute because of the warmth that he emanated. Issei. "Well, they turned out great, I hope you both like my cake," he said, smiling, making the girls blush because of his smile. Once they were done, all that was left was to bake them, so he went to the oven and started them to cook. Kurama. "The cake is ready," he said impatiently. Issei. "No, wait, it's still cooking, so hold on, will you?" Kurama. "It's easy for you to say, you didn't have breakfast, plus the smell of the things that others prepare makes me hungrier," he said hungrily. Kurama, already tired of waiting, got off Issei and began to walk around the room in search of something to eat. He saw that some girls were taking out some cookies from the oven and leaving them on the table to cool. At that point, he approached and grabbed them stealthily with his hand. Their tails and takes them, goes to the backpack and gets in there to taste their loot. While he was eating, well, Issei listens to him and checks what he was doing. Issei. "What are you eating, Kurama?" Kurama. "Who, Issei, just some cookies I found there." Before Issei said anything, he heard how some girls were arguing because their cookies disappeared. "Hey, who took the cookies we made?" "I don't know, Yang, we had put them on the table to cool down." "Is it true that if someone were to eat them, it would be Ruby?" Ruby. "Hey, it's true that I like cookies, but remember that it was something that the 4 of us made, so I wouldn't eat them knowing that, Weiss, and that I was always with Blake." Blake. "That's true, she was with me so she couldn't have stolen the cookies." At this, Issei only remained hard at what his friend had done, but then he heard how the oven had finished cooking, so he went to take out his cakes. Kurama. "Well, I'm finally going to be able to try it." Issei takes out the cakes and puts one in a bag, and the other cuts a slice and gives it to Kurama. Issei. "You better not bite me or without." Ouch. Before Kurama finished, because of how hungry he was and the smell, he quickly took a bite and accidentally bit it on his finger. At this, everyone turns to look at Issei, and then their teacher speaks. "Teacher? What happened, young Issei?" Issei. "Nothing, teacher, I just cut my finger when cutting my cake." Teacher. "Okay, be more careful with the cutlery, young man, but leaving that aside, let's see how your dessert turned out," she said as she approached and took a slice, trying it on. "Wow, young man, it turned out great. I'm sure in the future your partner will love eating your meals. He will be a great husband." Issei would blush at the comment, making both the girls and the teacher look tender, because he was embarrassed. When everyone had finished and the teacher had graded their desserts, Issei was putting everything away to head to his club to record another song he had been preparing, but before he left, a classmate approached him. "Ruby. Excuse me, Issei, I was wondering if you could treat me to some of your dessert, since it looks delicious if it's no bother," she said, a little shy. Issei just crouched under the counter without responding, making Ruby think that he didn't want to buy her cake, but when she was about to leave, she saw that Issei was looking for a knife. "Issei, do you want a medium or small portion?" he said, smiling at her, making her hypnotized by that smile. "Ruby, I want a medium, Issei-kun." Ruby without thinking called him as if they were more than classmates, making her friends see her and the other classmates surprised by that. At what he said, Issei cut the slice and gave it to him. "Issei, I hope you like it, well see you, I have to go to my club, see you later," he said as he left waving goodbye. Ruby just raised her hand to say goodbye, looking at the place where the brunette went. Weiss. "Wow, girl, you should stop looking where he went, it seems like you're in love with him, hahaha." Ruby. "Weiss, why are you saying that if I just asked her to try me some of her cake?" Yang. "But you stayed watching him leave and you didn't take your eyes off the place where he went." Ruby. "I thought he was very nice for having invited me a little of his dessert, in addition to his smile that reflected kindness." Blake. "Yes, of course, Ruby, but you should eat the piece of cake I left you, but I'll eat it." Ruby. "I didn't ask for that, so it's mine," she said as she grabbed a spoon and put a bite to her mouth. It's delicious," she said, blushing at the taste it had. Blake. "Seriously, I'm sorry," he said while he took out the spoon and tried it. "God, this is so good." Yang. "Let's see if it's really good," he said while eating a little. "Oh my god, this is delicious, I've never tried anything like it," she said with a little blush. "Weiss, you should try it, it's very good." Weiss, faced with the state of her friends for trying the cake, decided to try a little. When she did so, she was surprised by the taste but maintained her composure in front of people since thanks to everything her friend said, they became the center of attention of all her classmates. Of classes, capturing their attention, especially that of the girls who began to be interested in Issei and also wanted to try Issei's dessert. Weiss. "Yes, it's good, but it's not a big deal," she said while maintaining her noble lady's demeanor. "But I think I should try it a little more to make sure it's good," she said, trying to eat another bite. Ruby. "No," she said, taking out the plate with the piece of cake. "I asked for it so it's mine, thank you that it suits you a little." Yang. "Hey, we're friends, and remember all the times you ate our desserts that we had saved." Blake. "Right, you ate my store-bought cupcakes, and I barely ate one." Weiss. "And let's not forget my cookies that were for my tea, they never showed up again." They all began to argue about the cake under the watchful eye of everyone, but 5 girls who were away from everyone were listening to this. "What do you think of Issei, girls? Is it true that he changed that perverted attitude?" "I don't know, girl, he's probably just pretending so we can let our guard down so he can spy on us again." "I don't believe it, as I understand it, many people say that he really changed, and the teachers also say it, since he started to raise his grades and is more serious. Also, you saw that now he is always on breaks in the music room. According to what they say, he started the club again, alone as the only member, and thanks to that girl who recorded it when he was playing and singing, many women were there. Starting to be interested in him, now that he is more serious, knows how to sing and has changed his appearance, I would say that very soon he will become one of the prettiest boys at the academy." Wow, it seems like someone is interested in the perverted beast, it seems like he managed to attract her with his music, hahaha. It could be now that he changed and began to show all his strengths, I began to be interested in him, but for now I want to make sure that he has really changed before trying to approach him. "Are you sure? Possibly he is just playing at being a different person." "We'll see about that, but now we have to leave, girls, remember that we have to go shopping today, so hurry up." Given what her friend said, the others began to gather their things and left, although someone was thinking about what their friend said about Issei. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching and supporting us. See you in the next part.